Good evening. We'll call our Select Board meeting of Monday, March 30th to order. I'm Michelle Pryor, joined by Vice Chair Anthea Brady, members Bill McGonigal, Paris Bayani, Mike Betancourt, and Town Manager Chris Senior. First order of business tonight is to reorganize the Select Board and choose a new chair and vice chair. So I will dissolve the board to a committee of the whole for the purpose of reorganizing, with our Town Manager presiding. The Town Manager will now run the reorganization portion of our meeting.
Okay. This is very simple. I am calling for nominations for the chair of the Select Board for the town of Winchester. Are there any nominations?
I would like to make a nomination of Anthea Brady, our present vice chair, to serve as our chair. I'd like to make a comment as part of that as well, if that's okay.
Sure.
Great. I wanted to thank our present chair, who's been our chair for 2 years, 2 long years, has led with a great deal of distinction through some challenging times. We've had some turnover in your seat and then some more. And she was our chair through all of that. While doing that, she was the vice chair of the State of the Town process, effectively co-chair, and has taken on so many things that are visible, and for every one of those minutes that's visible, 10 minutes that are invisible. So I just wanted to thank her for an extraordinary service to this community, and I wish everybody had seen how much work she put in and how well she handled so much of it. And I want to just say that I think Anthea has served as vice chair a number of years. She's a veteran member of our board, has a lot of knowledge of how the town works, and I think will do a terrific job.
Thank you.
I don't think you have to have a second under the rules, but you historically have.
Second.
Second, okay. That was a discussion in a past life with Robert's rules. There's a nomination to second. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no nominations, I close the nomination process and call for a vote on the nomination of Select Board Member Anthea Brady to serve as chair of the Select Board. Member Bayani?
Yes.
Member Bencourt? Member Pryor?
Yes.
Member
Aye.
McGonigal? Member
Yes.
Brady? Unanimous. Congratulations. Now I'm apparently still in charge. I'm calling for nominations for vice chair of the Select Board. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Bill McGonigal as vice chair of the Select Board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair of the Select Board? Hearing none, I close the nomination process and call for a vote, and I will go the same process. Member Bayani?
Yes.
Member Betancourt?
No.
Member Pryor?
I'll abstain.
Member Brady?
Yes.
Member McGonigal?
Aye.
Congratulations, you're the vice chair of the Winchester Select Board. And now I am officially turning over the meeting to our new chair. Do I have to move the chairs? Is that part of the job?
They do. They do that.
We'll move our people and our...
We'll just move ourselves.
You can move your name
Move the
tags
chairs
probably
after.
too.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations. You stay.
No, we stay.
I don't move.
I don't know your traditions. This is more than...
I'm the newest member of the board. I think you're the longest serving member of the board. Those don't change.
Yeah. Rotate our...
Yep. Yep. Oh, yeah. It's good to you.
Okay, that worked. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
While we're on the topic of the reorganization, though, Madam Chair, if you'd like this to be a motion or just a recommendation, let me know. But I think we also need to reorganize and reassign our liaison and committee roles, too. And I ask that we do that next week, and we all come prepared to nominate and vote and act along those lines.
I think we can bring that onto next week's agenda.
And that, just to be clear, that's for all of our liaison and, committee assignments, be them to the Capital Planning Committee or the Cable Access Committee or the Planning Board or anything else along those lines.
No, I heard everybody loves the cable access.
Can I just request to Chris or to Patty to circulate that list? Because I'm sure it's buried in my email from a year ago.
Yes. If we can make sure it's in the packet for next week.
Yeah, or even send it to sooner.
Yeah, that's actually.
Yeah, that's second.
That'd be
I
great.
can do that tomorrow.
Thank you, Patty.
Okay. Well, moving on. Thank you, Michelle. I echo Paris's comments about all the work that you've done in the past 2 years as chair and in vice chair of the State of the Town Committee.
And I know you can build a mad agenda, so you're ready for that.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Because after so many hours of these things, you're going to do great.
And thank you to our new vice chair who gets to start us off with acceptance of donations.
Yes, do you have the cheat sheet for the motions?
Yes and no. These are very, you read each one separately, but here's for the water sewer. This is for in case that happens, and this is for, these are the two big ones, and that's for,
Okay, we'll start with the easy ones.
yes.
Move that we accept with gratitude a donation from the Mass DOT Municipal Speed Feedback Signage Program grant that will supply 2 speed feedback signs to be located on Swanton Street between Loring and the Aberjona River, a speed feedback trailer, and authorize the town manager to sign the memorandum of agreement in regards to the same.
I'd like to deliberate on this one.
Sure.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, and Matt, if you want to come up, we have a memo for Matt in the packet if anyone has questions for Matt.
So this was like a very long memo, right? It wasn't just I just want the public to be aware this was not just like a donation acceptance. There's a lot of great analysis here from our town engineer. I'm obviously going to support this. Let me say that at the outset. I just thought there's some good data. I live near Swanton Street. I cycle down it, up it all the time. It's a fast road, and so I'm wondering, this is one piece where we are in enforcement, you know, from a traffic safety perspective on Swanton and anything else we're planning there, because this is a very fast road, and I know the part up to the viaduct is fast, but then the part on the other side of the viaduct going towards Highland and Washington, also there's a lot of Morocco foot traffic and stuff, and we've gotten that safety complaint a lot from residents. So
Sure. So this was just as some background. MassDOT did put out if this grant earlier this year, late last year, which we then applied for, and it followed up on work that we've done on Swanton Street over the past couple of years. So in 2023, we developed a transportation plan townwide, and Swanton Street was listed in there as kind of a potential for traffic calming elements. 2024, the town did the top course on Swanton Street for paving, and as part of that, we came up with a striping plan with Tool. We striped at 10 foot, which is the town standard for road width, lane widths, as a traffic calming element. And we also had some additional enhancements, certainly towards sort of in the Florence Street area. We striped some bike lanes where it was feasible. We had some shared use markings. And then last year, as part of some of the discussions with the transfer station, we had actually done some traffic counts at both by the kind of in the Florence Street area and then also in this area. And the speeds are a little bit higher in this area than they were in the Florence Street area, which is one of the reasons why we chose this for the grant over kind of by where the tri-community path is. And we also felt that at the tri-community path there already is like a rapid flashing beacon, so there's an element of traffic calming in that area, and the area's like a little bit more denser with the parking that's on the street. So that's sort of how we ended up on this side of Swanton Street. We thought there's the crosswalk at the Aberjona nursing home that doesn't really have any enhancements right now, so we thought this would kind of go hand in hand in helping with that crosswalk.
And this is something that Matt and I spoke about, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, and we said, hey, I said, do we have a speed trailer? He goes, no. I said, can we get one? So I want to thank Matt for working very speedily to pull this together.
Yep, so the speed trailer will be used primarily by the police department, and that can be brought to any location in town.
What is a speed trailer?
So that is
Speed feedback trailer.
Speed feedback trailer. I got a picture here. Basically, it's like a trailer that attaches to a vehicle, and you can drop it off at various locations. It's portable, so that can be used like more as an educational tool. I don't know if the police will actually use it for enforcement, although I think they have used the speed feedback signs like on Palmer Street. They'll sometimes set up near where the speed feedback sign is there. So like some streets, for example, would be like Grove Street. We get some complaints about speeding in that area. Ridge Street. We can use it in other areas of Cross Street. So that's the idea behind that, is to use that in various locations throughout the town.
We can move on. We have plenty to get through. I would just say to Chris that I would like to have a conversation with, ideally the traffic engineer, the town engineer, but also the police chief about this, because I think we have a huge speeding problem on many of our thoroughfares, and I haven't sat down and asked the town planner to tell me the % of our homes on thoroughfares, but it's a lot. It seems anecdotally like it's half of the town lives on Highland, Washington Cross, Bacon, Swanton, et cetera, right, Cambridge. And people fly on these streets, and I would like us to really focus on this problem because Pond, by the way, people are driving way too fast on these roads. So, thank you.
Any other questions for Matt? So we can vote on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Moving on. Move that we accept with gratitude a grant of $90,094 from the Department of Energy Resources Green Communities for the following projects. $48,067 for window replacement at the Mystic School/Recreation Department, and $42,027 for LED lighting at the McCall Middle School.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have a water and sewer rate hearing at 7:45. So why don't we do public comment now, and then we'll do the water and sewer hearing, and then the town manager's report. And we'll take public comment for topics that aren't specifically on the agenda. So if there are comments about outdoor dining, we'll ask for comment at that time. I think everything else is general enough that if there are any other public comments, you can come up now. If you can just say your name and address for the record.
You got it. Andrew Gensel, Executive Director of Kids Corner. I'll use the Winchester 263 Main Street address, unless you need mine.
And just for the record, I'll be recusing myself from this still, assuming it's about the contract, so I'll back away from the table.
All right. I'm here today. I transferred over to the Executive Director of Kids Corner in 2008. I've been working at Kids Corner since 2004. There are a couple of board members and after-school families in the room today as well. Just want to give a little more context behind Kids Corner. I know part of this is on the agenda, but we're a nonprofit community organization. We serve 650 children across all of our programs that we have. And we were started in 1982 by Winchester residents and working parents who needed childcare when the town was not able to provide it. We are dedicated to the working families of Winchester. We offer full-day programs on vacation weeks and those crazy election days and things like that where there's no school. We offer summer programs that run longer than everybody else because that's what the working families need in town. We even opened on that chemical spill day that happened because it was safe for the kids to come to our building. The need for after-school and out-of-school care in general is only growing in town. We have a wait list with hundreds of kids on it. Other programs in town are near or at capacity as well with wait lists. And if parents can't work, it becomes a bigger problem for Winchester. You can just ask Medford. Winchester families want the best for their children and expect high-quality programs in town to meet that need, and that's where we come in. We've always been connected since day one, since 1982, with the town, primarily with the school committee, but also with the town manager. The town manager used to do all the negotiation of the leases on the behalf of the school committee, believe it or not, back when I took over. We all know there's a new landlord, right, for that building. We're the owner of that building, running that building. That is you guys. And we're here to build that relationship that we haven't really had to do ever, or very much, right? And we ourselves are learning that the process with the select board is much different than the process with the school committee. and the way that it used to be. And we are creating a shared history now going forward. I appreciate the town manager sitting down with me, learning about Kids Corner, discussing the challenges that the town faces as well. That dialogue meant a lot to me. And so I look forward to continuing that process. So Kids Corner has already set our budget for next year. We intentionally approved a budget that was in a deficit because it keeps costs reasonable for families. And we try to do that when we can. We can absorb an energy cost from our reserve funds for this upcoming year, so don't panic about that. But we'll have to build that into our future budgets just to make sure that we're not always running at a deep deficit. We are a nonprofit. There is no owner. All the money stays in town. So we use surplus to invest in the program and the building. You may not know, but we've paid to fix and repair crumbling walls in our space. We replaced all the window shades to match the ones that the rec department has upstairs. We've replaced carpeting and tile floors. Don't worry, none of the asbestos ones as of yet. We've replaced broken water fountains and put in water filling stations, and we've made improvements to the front play area when it was no longer safe. All at no cost to the town, but the community has benefited from all of these improvements. We've discussed replacing additional windows with the rec department and resurfacing the parking lot. And these kind of improvements can't happen if the lease costs get too expensive. In short, I'm just looking forward to continuing to build this rapport with this crew. Stop by any time. Mi casa is su casa, literally. And we're hoping to, after we secure this one-year lease, to start discussions on something that's a little bit more long-term, something that could be mutually beneficial to all involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. If you want to submit your comments, Patty can take your hard copy.
I'm going to make a request to you. You don't have to respond to this now. If you wouldn't mind showing us kind of what the average, and you could send maybe an email to the whole board or the town manager, and he can distribute it. Like, what's the average tuition for a family, and then with the energy cost layered in, what would that have to be over? I know this year you said reserve funds. What would it have to be with the maintenance? What would it have to be? I think that'd be great.
Okay, yeah. All right. I'll take care of that. Thank you.
Is anyone else here for public comment? You're here to talk about water and sewer. So we'll close public comment, and then we'll move to our water and sewer rate hearing. So we don't have Matt Abrams here today. He was here last week. We have Bob. And Matt did send a PowerPoint that we all received in our packets. So do I need to open the public hearing before Bob? Or Bob, do you have an update for us?
I don't have an update, no.
Okay. All right. So I will open our public hearing, and then we can take any comments related to water and sewer rates. Yeah, Brian. You can come after Brian. You can come before Brian.
Good evening. Seamus Brady, 15 Clematis Street. I appreciate the opportunity to talk briefly about rates. When I moved to Winchester in 2014, the service fee for water and sewer was $5 per quarter. It's since gone up to $30 per quarter, and my concern is just that impacts everybody. So people on fixed incomes who are using the least amount of water they can are paying $30 per quarter when they used to pay $5 for many years, and folks who use the absolute most water in town are paying $30 per quarter, and I just don't think that's very equitable. So I'm not sure what you can do now, but I would just strongly encourage you in the future to really look at that service fee. I think you can capture the same amount of revenue with a totally different structure, focus more on people who are using the most water. They're not farmers who are using the most water, so I would just like you to consider that if you can, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Brian? Yep.
Thank you very much. Brian Vernali, 19 Sergeant Road. I'm going to echo a lot of things that were just said right there. I'd like to address the proposed water and sewer rate increase, and just to be clear, I'm not speaking for the Planning Board or the Capital Planning Committee. As you simultaneously prepare to establish a Human Rights Commission, I'd like to argue that clean water for drinking, cooking, and cleaning, and safe and effective sanitation are among the most basic of human rights. Members of this board have referenced the rising number of cost-burdened residents in town, and our water and sewer rates directly impact this burden. At the same time, I appreciate that costs to provide these services are increasing. It's important to realize that there is essential water use and there's discretionary water use. Basic use for cooking and cleaning is essential and cannot be realistically dialed back. Discretionary water use for irrigation, pools, and entertainment can be adjusted at will by residents. Moreover, those most cost-burdened in town already use the least amount of water. So what can be done? To start with, I think you just heard, the service fee is regressive and hits those who struggle to afford water the hardest. I would consider shifting that service fee either to the higher tiers of water use exclusively or eliminate it entirely and spread it evenly among the tiers. And it is true that Winchester has a progressive rate where the more water you use, the higher rate you pay. However, a proposed 7+% increase hits all users equally. Everyone would see a 7+% increase. If we truly want to address the struggling cost-burdened residents that we talk about, we should limit the increase on the lowest tier of use, perhaps even expand this tier, and cost shift the increase to the higher tiers. The result would be those least able to afford water would see limited increase, while those who elect to maintain large irrigated properties would pay more to do so, but could also choose to scale back their use. Any way of adjusting the rates is necessarily a zero-sum game. However, we owe it to those struggling in the game of life to help them while asking those of us like me who elect to water their gardens and lawn to pay a little bit more. Don't just talk about cost-burdened residents, and don't just establish a Human Rights Commission. Let's look carefully at how we charge for water and sewer, and I encourage you to follow through and make this most essential service a basic human right, affordable to everyone, especially those struggling the most. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm happy to leave these comments if you...
Yeah, if you want to bring them to Patty. Any other comments on water rates?
Wyatt Beal, 176 Dothan Street. I did not intend to make a statement, but I do agree with what Brian had said, is that obviously, potable water is basic human right, and I'd be happy to pay more for those people who would, cannot simply afford it. I will say that for a family of 4, we're paying a little over $1 a day for water service and sewer to our house, and I think that's quite a good deal for a public utility.
Thank you. So if there are no other comments, we'll close the public hearing and then deliberate on water rates. So we had a discussion last week, or at our last meeting, around what Matt had brought us, which had 3 different proposed rates and rate structures for next year and going forward. At that time, we discussed the 7% rate option, which was proposing 7% for the next several years. This is actually down from what we had brought to town meeting last year, which was voted at 8% year over year. So this is 1% lower adjustment. Are there any questions that Bob can answer, or discussion that we want to have around water rates?
I think my only question for you, Bob, is with the failure of the override, is there any consideration we need to put into this number in terms of raising it to cover capital projects that might be addressed from the funds that we would raise through these water rates that we can't now address since we can't beef up our capital stabilization funds?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't think any of our water projects were part of the override.
They weren't really.
Right.
But I'm asking with you to make sure that's true. That
Yeah.
we have to find creative resources now to raise our revenues.
Right.
I don't want to lose
Right. I mean, we're a 110 community, so 83% of the capital will go to the tax rate. So depending on what's available for the capital stabilization funds, that would probably limit some of what we can do. But I'm not particularly concerned about it at this point.
So we're deliberating?
Did you have something else to add?
No, if no one said anything, I'd make a motion.
I think we're still discussing.
So the service charge, I appreciate the comment from the first commenter, has gone from $5 to $30 per quarter, right? So it's 20 to
35?
20 to 120. What?
Is it 35?
I believe it's 30.
30.
30? No.
At least what I'm looking at says 30. It's
35,
been
so it's $140.
134. Oh, so now it's going to. When did it go to 35? Is that in this proposal?
No.
This proposal is just for a percentage raise, no.
Yeah, it's
No
been
service
35 for several years, I think.
It's been 35 for several years. Okay, so it's $140, right? So that's a real number. And then there had been a discussion. I mean, Andy, I think you had raised it about creating either a top tier or a bottom tier. So do we have any information on that? I'm candidly not sure what the cutoffs are between the tiers and what the rate is per tier.
Yeah.
I didn't have it
I
all
know
with
it's
that.
1 to 15 and then.
1 to 15 cubic
Is
feet?
it 16
Yes.
to 30 and above 30?
Thank you. It's 1 to 15, 16 to 30, and then 30 plus?
I think so.
And then, and Andy, your idea was to do what? 45 plus, 50 plus?
Yeah, something higher. Even, you could go up from there to 60 plus.
Well,
But
the average irrigation user is 74, right?
yeah, I think a question that we might need to have an answer to is the distribution of users who are, over a certain. The distribution of users who are over that 45 tier compared to, we have the average residential users bill is 29, so I would expect,
Yeah.
probably it's, potentially a quarter of users who are over 45.
Yeah, we can get that for you.
I mean, is there any feasible way of establishing a tier above 45, putting a higher increase on that, and then whatever dollar, like dollar for dollar, reducing the impact on the 1 to 15 group? That's, I believe, what some of the commenters were getting at. I don't know if one of them is nodding anyway. I agree with that, and I think, Anthony, you had started to take us a little bit down that path last time.
Yeah.
If it's completely infeasible for this spring town meeting, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to get it done for this spring town meeting, the deadline on that. But Matt can definitely run these scenarios and come up with a projected path for the next year.
You think it's impossible for this spring town meeting?
To get all the information you want is going to be probably impossible at this point. You're talking 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 weeks. Yeah.
And the question is, if we're going to change the structure, the rate structure versus changing the percentage. So if we're saying we're going to increase 7%, if we want to change the rate structure, do we need to do that annually in March, or could we take a look at it and say we want to address the rate structure?
I can have him address the rate structure this summer and have it ready for you for the fall update. So you'll know what that looks like before we even come to the board for rate increases, if need be, in the spring of next year.
I think if we had the ability to add a fourth tier right now, I would be in favor of doing that and giving that group a 15% increase or a 10% increase, and then doing 0% increase from the 1 to 15. It sounds like we're just out of time.
I believe my understanding from previous sessions is that the rate increase is across the board, but we can change, maybe adjust the rates within the tiers. It might be a question we have to take back on how we do that.
Rates within the tiers.
So what we're asking, when we're asking town meeting to vote, I think we're asking them to vote on one number of the rate increase, but if we were to say we're going to address
But if we
The
create a fourth
first thing,
tier from
the-
45 and up, we have to have a higher increase in that because it currently has the same number against it as the 30 and up, right?
Yeah,
That's
it
the
would
problem.
just, it wouldn't be it would be a different you would create a new tier. It wouldn't necessarily be, I see what you're saying.
It would create a new tier, but it would have the same rate, so it's not a new
Correct.
tier until you come in and raise that rate.
Correct.
But couldn't you also drop the lower rate, right?
Yeah.
But if we drop the lower rate now without.
No, you'd have to do it
we'll lose money.
simultaneously.
Otherwise we'll lose money, right?
So somebody does it for 15, they have a 7% increase, but they're still using less volume, so they impact it and realize it differently. So, Patty, I have a question for you, which is, do we have to vote this in the spring? And could we vote it in the spring and revisit it in the fall town meeting? We have to vote water rates this evening, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But could we revisit rate structures, dropping the lower tier, adding a fourth tier in November? We have to pick a number, but could we adjust it again in November?
It hasn't been done, but you never say
I mean, the reason it hasn't been done is because people aren't watering right over the. But I think you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, a town meeting is a town meeting. We'll probably go on the warrant, right?
Yep.
So the change could take effect,
Or we could do nothing, we could just
January.
hold where we are now, too.
I mean, I would still have Matt follow up with everything and bring everything to you in the fall. And by then, we'll find out.
Yeah, Matt will be able to take our information and run all different scenarios through his program to find out, where we can settle on what volume and at what pricing will we, match our current revenue. Right now, we're throwing numbers out that, what if we don't match our revenue?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
That's what I'm afraid of.
So maybe one suggestion is we talk about given what we've received from Matt, we talk about the rate plans for the next few years and vote on that sort of in relation to our Springtown meeting. And then maybe we do, maybe Paris, you and I can meet with Bob and Leanne and Matt and talk through some of these and get sort of a broader, idea of what all the options are so that we can bring something back to the board in the fall as, here's what we looked at and here are different ways that we could approach it.
So just to comment about service charge, that service charge is the cost of us to run, not even the cost for us to run the water treatment, whether anybody purchases water or not. We still have a cost to have water ready at that last tap for you to open the faucet. So that goes to your property values and everything else. So, I mean, $30 is a drop in the bucket to have that service. So that's equitably shared amongst everybody. So just keep that in mind.
Other questions for Bob or discussion? Does somebody,
I think we kind of circled a 7% raise at our last meeting.
Yep.
And thank you for confirming that. So I will move that the select board approve a 7% water and sewer rate increase as presented.
any other discussion?
I may make a second motion right after this, but no other discussion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I move that the select board explore with the intent of implementing the creation of a fourth rate at 45 or 50 cubic feet of water and above for implementation in 2027.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Paris, I'm happy to work with you and work with DPW on
Sure.
further information there. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we'll have that for you for the fall. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
So we'll back up now to the town manager's report.
Okay. There are no appointments this week. Andrew's already mentioned that we did meet. We went over the parameters of a lease extension, so I'm having something, he and I are exchanging some information. I'll have council bounce off an extension, and I'll have it all for you for a review. If not next week, as soon thereafter as possible with it. So I had an email exchange with Bob Dolan. Rob is the manager of Linfield. There's been obviously every community in the state, and particularly in this region is looking hard at their budgets. What do we do? How do we make things work? So he's calling a regional meeting together of all local leaders, select board members and managers and mayors and members of the Senate and House. Hopefully we'll have that'll come together sometime in April. We'll let you know more when that happens. And the goal is just to help, push the legislators, not to beat them, but just to say, hey, we need tools. We need more local tools to do things. It can't just be the property tax. It can't just be an override. We have to give communities local options to do other things. The governor's put a few things out there. There's been some hearings, but it hasn't moved. So I just want to keep you on the loop on that. As any of you have seen, the library project, the roof project is underway. That'll be going on for some period of time. The roof first, and then the windows won't be replaced after that. Hopefully so I think it's clear the roof will go first, and so there's going to be some missing spaces in the library for a while, and some secure coverings along the way, so there's no injury from anything coming off the roof, though they'll be going to be very secure on that.
Just on to pause on that, it looks like we've lost a number of parking spaces during this project too.
Yeah.
Approximately how many?
I think there's 6 or 7, so it's got to be a little tighter. It's also the drop-off and pickup is a little bit different because you can't swing around the parking lot.
Hey, will those spots be taken for the sake of the project throughout the entire life of the project?
No, I don't think so. I think it's only going to be for the roof part. So I believe that I don't know if they'll need quite as much space for the windows. So, but I'll get you an update as soon as we can. But the hope is that they'll get the roof done in a timely manner so that by fall we might be able to ease back a little bit. I'll let you know more for sure. And I did meet with staff today, department heads. We went over post-override questions, put a hiring freeze into effect, put a discretionary spending limits in effect, and I've asked everyone to take a hard look at their budgets and get back to me with options going forward about if we had to do things, what would we do, and how would we do them. So that's all in the works. And as you see, there's a number of things going on as well. We have conversations going on about a number of projects and a legislative update, which I hope we will have right after town meeting is over and our legislative delegation will come in. So the plan is to have that sometime it'll be after town meeting, before the end of the fiscal year. So, and there's a bunch of other stuff in the packet if anyone has any questions. There's a bunch of ongoing projects, kind of number of meetings about planning for developments that will be coming. We'll be talking about that more publicly, about things we'll have to do to deal with Waterfield, for example, and any other projects that might come into construction phase before the end of the year.
Okay. Any other questions for Chris? We do have the comptroller's report in our packet, and Stacy's here if anyone has questions for Stacy on comptroller's report. All right, I'm going to take that as a no. So we'll move to...
Just a question for Stacey. Stacey, are you staying for override debrief and next steps?
Say that again?
Are you staying for the override debrief and next steps?
Oh, yes.
You are, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so we will move on to outdoor dining applications. I know there are folks in the audience with interest in that. Is there anyone with comment regarding the outdoor dining applications?
I just want to put on the record that our health board did submit something, which you all now have a copy of the email. There were just 2 questions that were raised for the board to consider. One is that those establishments who engage in this have some kind of regular cleaning schedule of the areas. And that links right into enhanced pest control to make sure that the great experience is not overshadowed by free riders who are picking up the crumbs. So, because we don't want to cause any more trouble with that downtown. So those are issues that were raised by the Board of Health.
Thank you.
And those can be included in the permit applications, the way that the environmental health inspector said?
Yeah.
So we have a few emails in the packet, and then we have a table that lists the applications. So 7 applications that came in, and one that was submitted that came in a bit late. So if we want to review these, discuss their application, and discuss approving. And any questions in looking at the applications and the plans that were submitted.
I mean, I have an overarching comment. We made it very clear, I thought, in the policy that the outdoor dining space was supposed to not only be contiguous to the businesses, but also contained within their frontage. And it seemed like maybe close to every, not all, of the applications asked for more spaces than their frontage would have allowed. And I know that there was a sensitivity among the other business owners to have open spaces downtown for patrons to park in and use for a variety of other uses too. Given that we now have more applicants than we've had in the past, which means more spaces are being used for outdoor dining, and we're losing spaces at the library, I'm very reluctant to grant any more spaces than what the frontage would contain. And that's kind of how I'm approaching this. There are a couple specific concerns with some of the applications, but if we're doing them one by one, I'll wait till those are specifically brought up.
Yeah, I think we can go one by one on those. If there's questions on any of them, and I know a couple kind of in the same sort of same part of the street that we might want to just discuss together a bit. So the first application we have is Nouvelle Maison, and then Atavola, which is right next door, has an application as well. So Nouvelle Maison is for one spot in front of their store. Atavola is for 3, and they've requested a lighter barrier between the 2 spaces, given that they're right next to each other.
Why does there even have to be? Didn't they share last year?
That was my recollection.
They did,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, Celine, do you
You got to come to the table.
I think. Want to state my name or anything?
Might as well.
I'm here now. Celine Kimberly, owner of Nouvelle Maison. The reason we are not sharing a space this year is we have a pouring license that is pending with the ABCC, and we have been told that a pouring license cannot cover the same area, so we can't have 2 licenses on the same spot. So we had to split up to be able to, assuming that we get our pouring license and we have requested it for the outdoor area, we could not use it if Atavola shares our space.
Thank you. That's very clear as to why.
Any questions, Bill?
No.
Thanks, Lee.
So between the two, if we just take those 2 on Church Street, right? So Nouvelle has a half a spot and wants a spot. Atavola has 1.5 spots and wants 3, so that would be 4 spots on frontage of 2 spots. Okay. And to Bill's point,
I agree with the math.
we did make the point. You agree with the math? Thank you. Every now and then,
Yeah.
I get it right.
We align.
Look at that. I can add. I agree with Bill that we have a policy to be the frontage. We enforced that mostly last year. I think we need to enforce it to be consistent this year. So I think I appreciate Ms. Kimberly's response as to why we need a barrier. But I don't see that 1.5 spots for Atavola should then increase to 3. I understand they can't share quite the same way, but that's a lot.
So,
Gandhi, are we going to?
Yeah,
are we going to do individual motions?
yeah, let's,
I mean, I appreciate Nouvelle can't make do with half a spot, so I'm fine giving them 1, and then I think we would ask Atavola to do 2. The problem is this is the hardest one because they are these halves. I'd be fine rounding up for each of them, personally. I'd move we allow Nouvelle Maison 1 spot and Atavola 2 spots. So keeping to Michelle's principle for as best we can. This one's the trickiest.
yeah, and can we just make that motion to approve their application with with that number of spots.
Yes.
So can I?
So
Or what Patty tells us to do.
So right now,
I have,
over there.
do you want me to?
Yes, so each restaurant has a specific motion that has to be stated, including the addition of the ADA access. So it will include what spots you decide. So as we go along, Bill will add 2, and then he'll add 1, and that will be the final motion for each spot, and he'll run through them all.
okay, so why don't we just discuss them and we'll do the motions at the end?
Yep.
I would be fine with Newville having 1 and Ottaville having 2.
Just so I have it.
I was going to say, I didn't follow that.
I did. I got it. Don't worry.
I'm gonna read them all. I think we should just discuss the numbers now. Read them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So discuss the numbers as well as any, if looking at the plans, if there's any other questions.
And are we going to make all these conditional upon the 2 suggestions from the health department that they submit?
Yes.
Chris said that'll be in the application.
Or in the
The ADA
permit.
thing.
Well, as long as you put it in the motion.
No, it has to be in the motion, it has to be the same motion for every single restaurant that you decide on.
Okay.
Because when I did this list, I didn't have the other.
Okay. So we ready to move on to Tai Charoen?
Sure.
Yeah. There is a diagram, and I know, Patty, you might have had a little bit more context to it if we have questions here. They wanted 2 spaces. So it kind of overlaps with maybe a alley to the right of them.
So the alley has to be kept open because that's where the trash goes. Wait. Did you receive that?
Yeah, we have the diagram. So
What's the upshot of the diagram?
Oh, I see it.
One of the spaces partially blocks the alley.
Yeah.
yeah, so is that an issue? We have keep clear for alley access
Yes.
on there.
And then what's right next to it is just the door, entry door to going to the apartments upstairs. And so that's why she made it.
Is this essentially the parking spot line?
Actually, it's the parking spots here, and I think this is, so it's 1.5 spots.
Or in front of her?
Yeah.
Okay.
And is that what she's asking for?
She's asking for 2. It says there's 1 spot in front of the store, but I think there actually are maybe 2 that, is it that there's 2 that split in front of the store?
Yes.
So questions, thoughts, concerns on that application?
I'd give 1 spot.
I would give 1 spot.
Fine with me.
Okay.
If we ever restripe downtown, Chris, we'll just line them up exactly in front of front doors.
Yeah.
Not hallways, alleyways and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, the tricky, I'm just looking
I
at the
understand that
diagram.
spot might shift slightly, but I think if we should, and maybe it doesn't perfectly align continuously, but if it's roughly a space that's split between 2, we should maybe just grant 1 space, 1 spot.
Lucia's easy.
Lucia's has asked for 3 spots, and there's 3 spots right in front, right?
Yes.
Yep, that's the easiest one.
Good with that.
So then Black Horse has 2 spots, and they're on Thompson Street outside of the restaurant, and has requested for 3 spots there.
our policy is to do the two. So I'm with the two.
What does this comment mean that the owner owns the building behind the restaurant? Does that refer to the third spot?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that spot belongs to the town and is used by people who go to all the stores downtown. So I don't really find that persuasive.
Fair point.
So we kind of upsized the Tavola Nouvelle group to 3, even though they take up 2. And Black Horse, we're going to hold to 2.
Well, so Atavola and Nouvelle are separate. So
Right.
they're not able to share their space this year. So Nouvelle got 1 space and Atavola got 2.
2.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Michelle. Normally they would get 2, and this year they're getting 3 because of this alcohol issue. Yeah. So you're right, they're getting an extra spot. Black Horse, I hear the point that it's a town-owned space. I would also say if it's his business and it's in front of anyway, I don't have a strong opinion on Black Horse.
Yeah, and I would be inclined to support that. I think that we had the same issue that we discussed last year, was that its other location is residential upstairs and real estate, office below, so it doesn't really impact, a storefront the way that it would otherwise. So
Those toy stores.
and I will say that, I mean, there are a couple of the larger restaurants that certainly are full outside all the time, so Black Horse is one of them, and certainly First Rasmucci is too, so.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, I would be inclined to go 3 there as well. I mean, the other thing too that we've discussed, that we're evaluating these every year, right? So we have new businesses which is great in the town center, that are coming in, and it's not just a static, you had this before, you had it there, it's year to year to see if the demand is there, if people have weeks where they've got a whole parking space full of seats that aren't being used at all for outdoor dining, then we can have that conversation, years to come. But yeah, I would say for some of these, with the 3 makes sense.
So I want to. Do you have another comment? And then
When it comes to Black Horse? No. I mean,
Okay. So I'll just bring us back to, I think if we're going to give Black Horse 3, with saying it's a residential building, I'm actually looking at the Thai restaurant, and I would say that if we're talking about a residential building, well, it is another parking spot. That parking space is like halfway. Both parking spaces are kind of halfway in front of the restaurant, so I think that would be one to reconsider. Whether we give them 2, it sounds like it might be more like 1.5, given how the alley needs to be kept clear.
Yeah, I agree with you definitely there. I mean, I think it's one of those things that we can try because it's new, right?
Pass this around, if you see what it looks like.
So Andy, you're saying for the Thai restaurant, give them 1.5?
Or
2, but it would be.
give them 2, but it seems like their 2 might be 1.5.
Yeah.
From the end marking of the space to whatever is appropriate to keeping the alley clear.
With the alley, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to charge them based on
You can
the
prorate it.
actual space that they're using then. That may be one plus.
Would folks be okay with going back to Tai Charo and for 2 spaces?
I'm fine with that.
And Black Horse, seems like we may have a majority comfort with 3 spaces on Black Horse.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
What's your opinion?
They've had 3 spaces for the past several years since we've done outdoor dining. it seems like that has been okay. The parts, the space across the street where the post office is, I think, is always marked off as no parking for trucks coming out, so it doesn't seem like the third space of dining impacts that space.
Good point.
And so then the last two are Koi Ramen and First House Pub. Koi Ramen has one space in front of their store and has requested 2. First House has 2 spaces and has requested 3. There's comments here just on our chart, as well as some comments that we've received ahead of time that if those restaurants get 2 spots and 3 spots, then it's going to have like a strange 1 spot in the middle of the board, or in the middle of the row in there.
First House Pub. If there's any questions?
Thank you for coming up. So I think for us on between, do you want to do a question?
I know frozen hoagies.
Yeah, come on up.
I own a toy store I'd like to speak to.
Come on up, there's 3 chairs, we can always grab more.
And if you guys are up here, Mike, you've told me before, do you still represent First House? Because if you do, I think you need to make a disclosure. You do not? Have you received any financial payment from them in the past 2 years? Is that true?
True.
Sure or yes?
100% true.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Mary McPartland. I own Frozen Hoagies. My issue is I'm an ice cream shop. My season is the summer. I'm in between the pub who's been there for 6 years, from the whole outdoor dining, and then the Menudo place is on the other side of me. So it's going to block my whole storefront. And then there's no parking. I mean, obviously, if there's no parking, someone's going to go to a different ice cream store.
I'm next. So I own this toy store. I've been there 27 years. I've been there 27 years. I've been very active in the town. I care about the town, and I care about all my neighbors. But it's getting to a point that COVID's over, and what are we doing? What are we doing to other businesses in town? I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about every other business that's a non-restaurant. We rely on parking at every spot at every moment. And I'm not sure, can someone tell me when the construction is going to happen in the lot that's next to D'Agostino's in that area? And we're going to be losing spaces in there.
End of summer.
End of summer. So we're going to lose maybe 90 spaces if it happens at the end of the summer. And what happens to their workers? Where do they stage? And where does that go? So that's one concern I have. I mean, I lose customers every day because there's not enough for parking in the center. They call me up and say, I can't find a spot. I'm going someplace else. The number one retailer in this world right now is not a brick and mortar store. It's Amazon. So if I don't have parking and I don't have accessibility for my store, they'll go right online and go buy it there, and I'll lose more customers. It's important. I understand every restaurant needs to have it, but how can you block almost that whole front of our stores with 2 restaurants and not give my customers and all that? I pay taxes because I pay my landlord the taxes for my space. She pays taxes. We all do. Our landlord pulls it down. And I don't think it's fair for all the businesses, and I'm talking for all of them. I'm talking for Studio in the Common, who couldn't be here tonight. I'm talking for all the brick and mortars. We've been good neighbors for a long time, but when is it come back that we get some respect from the town because we have brick and mortar stores and need parking for consumers that come in to shop us? And I understand. I mean, I run the Belmont Business Association, and last year, with the okay from all the restaurants, we stopped outdoor dining. And the restaurants came back to me and said, it's a costly thing for us. And I asked them this year, how was last summer for you? She goes, it was more profitable, maybe less revenue, but more profitable. And we didn't really miss having outdoor dining as we thought we would, but we're working as a town to keep it that way so all businesses will benefit. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough call. I respect Jim. I like Jim. I like all the businesses in town. But, I mean, we all have to look at it and go, I have customers that have to come into my store, and if they can't park, they're going to go someplace else. And I'm an important part. Like I said, I've been 27 years I've had that toy store in this town, and I've worked my ass off for this town. And I work hard for every resident in this town. So I understand that maybe we shorten the season a little, that I'm worried about also. I'm worried about Town Day. Because the Town Day, we're going to be losing booths for Town Day, and where am I going to set my booth up and all that, and how that's going to play a fact. And blocking Hoagie's for a summer is not the right thing to do. She has a short season to make her profits, and if she can't make her profits in the key part of the season, and like I said, May and June are my two most important months of the summer. Then comes October, November, December. But if I don't have a good May and June, I'm not going to survive through the year. The revenue I need from the store for those 2 months is critical. If we don't have parking that bring customers in, I'm not going to get the revenue. There won't be a toy store in town. There will not be. I mean, I understand, I get it. Everybody wants to eat outdoors. I understand it. But we did it before, and now COVID's over. Do we go back in indoor dining? No. Outdoor dining is a pleasant thing to do, and I know Winchester residents love it, and I respect it. But I just don't know what the right answer is for this town. Other towns are backing off it because it's a balance between non-restaurant businesses and restaurant businesses. So I'm not trying to speak against the restaurants, but I'm trying to speak for the whole center. It's something that's so important to how we sustain. Again, I'm competing with Amazon every day of my life. And it's not like it is. And all of you probably shop on Amazon. And if I can't have parking, they're going to go drive on. These consumers will drive to the next best town, or they'll go home and they'll buy it online. And they won't come back. And I want to retain the customer base I have because it's important. So you're talking about the noodle place and thing, and that's going to block off our whole street because it's a small block.
My season is April to September or October. I mean, I've been dead all winter.
So do we shorten the season for outdoor dining, and I accept it? But, I mean, May and June are critical months. And this Town Day, that's a critical period of time for all of us. And then July and August, is it okay? Do we stop it? I don't know the right answer. And I don't want restaurants that badmouth her to be mad at me for what I'm trying to do. Because I'm worried about myself and paying bills and keeping my business going. And Jim has to worry about his business, and maybe has to worry about her. And we all have to. We all have a responsibility to manage our business in the best way we can. So what's right is I don't know. But you can't take the whole block away from us. You just can't. It's not right. Maybe there's a lottery that needs to be done. Something has to be done because if you take that whole block away from us, and you can't see our storefronts.
Not only that, they can't even stop, and the double parking is horrible as it is.
Yeah. Thank you for your comments.
So
I appreciate that you.
I hope the town understands it.
I sent an email too.
Yeah, we received both your emails.
I hope the town takes it serious enough to understand there's other businesses in town other than restaurant. If you want to become a restaurant like Moody Street and have no quality of businesses, be my guest, because Moody Street has nothing that's positive about that shopping. They've lost every business they could be had. Every business. I go to Moody Street because I like eating there sometimes, and I eat Jim's restaurant. I eat all the restaurants in Winchester because I care about them. But I don't want Main Street in Winchester to become Moody Street because it's not a pleasant shopping experience. So you guys got to look at it and treat all of us as we all are partners in the center in the success. So that's all my input.
Thank you. Yeah, so we set our dining season last year ahead of the applications, and then continued with that this year. So the outdoor dining season has been set from the first Wednesday in May through the first Wednesday in October.
Yeah, we're not deliberating on.
We're not deliberating on that because we've had applications submitted within that.
I just want to ask a factual question, if that's okay. So the request from First House, and maybe you're going to get into this in your comment. So last year you had the part in front of Eastern Bank, the two spots in front of First House, and the spot in front of Catch a Falling Star. I think that there's sort of Catch a Falling Star is a spot and a half, and then Frozen Hoagies is half a spot. So you kind of had four. What are you asking for?
I did have four at the beginning. During COVID, I'm down to 3. There's 10 feet into Catch a Falling Star and 10 feet into
Eastern Bank. Okay. Thank you.
And we used to start in March. I mean, the season has definitely shortened a lot. The fall, I think that's good. We weren't doing much anyway. For us, there is a lot of parking, Mystic Valley Parkway, and up on Main Street by the school and the church. So, But yeah,
Remember, that parking's only at night. Your school teachers park there during the day.
Yep.
So let's make sure we understand.
And so, just for us in our application, so the 3 spots that you're requesting,
do you have the plans?
I actually, yes. Patty, do you have a hard copy of that?
If not, I do.
Yes.
I'm looking at it sideways.
Yeah.
So the Google drawing from 2023,
You see.
top left.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm in the same boat. If I don't do well this summer, you know, we could be out of business. It was a hell of a winter, December through March. So I'm in the same boat. I could use the help.
So, Chris, one of the things that comes up repeatedly in town is parking, which you're learning. One of the things that we've talked about a lot is the downtown parking is so desirable, and downtown parking spaces are so big. And whether we can, and it comes up when we talk about outdoor dining, because obviously, you know, parking spaces and storefronts are not the same, but it, you know, comes up when we have this parking space is overlapping with this storefront. And so I think one of the comments that has come up, and Matt was here earlier, but it's like, can we restripe some of these spaces just so that we can, you know, is there potential to increase physical spaces in the town center, knowing that, you know, you might not be able to park, like the car that I got handed down from when I was in high school, that was practically a boat in it, but you could park, you know, a standard car or the smaller SUV, or be, you know, really good at parallel parking. So I think that might be a question too, not an immediate thing, but as we go forward, how can we
I think that was
just
I had the same
alleviate?
question, I think that you know, angled in parking, at least on that side of the street, might add some more spaces and actually make it even you know, add some safety to the area, because it, you know, the kind of narrowing of Main Street in that area will just naturally slow down cars. And so I know that it used to be angled parking there all the way up through the bridge, and there were, you know, when it switched to you know, all parallel parking spots, you know, it reduced, you know, the amount. And I mean, the other thing too is if you look at some of our spaces, maybe it's what he was speaking to a little bit, they seem absurdly long, you know, for, and maybe by squeezing them down to a normal length, that maybe we can get another spot out of it, or maybe at least mitigate some of the impact of the outdoor dining on some of the retail locations.
So I would. So you're done. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
I would agree with Mike and Anthea. We need to look. This is very loud.
You're rather loud.
Into restriping. I think that's suddenly very loud on me.
Or recalibrate your microphone.
Yeah, exactly. I think we need to look into restriping or changing the direction. I would also say I've received multiple complaints in the last couple of weeks about the lot across the street from Town Hall. So some of that is Town Hall parking, some of that's employee parking, some of that's visitor parking, some of that is Jenks Center parking, and specifically that Winchester High School students are parking there. If you go back in time to the former select board chair, who I think was told he would have to leave Winchester if he tackled the downtown parking issues, but successfully did that, there was a very extensive negotiation about the construction of the lot on Skilling's Field for high school students, and that's supposed to be where they're parking. And so I would say we need to enforce actively ticketing in the lot across the street from Town Hall, because they're not allowed to park there, and that can free up spots for particularly downtown businesses for their employees to park in. So.
Do you have comments related to?
I do. My name's Artie Bennis. I'm a small business owner in Winchester. And I'm here for two reasons. One, to ask your help to have small businesses survive. Last year, we lost 3 businesses, 2 on Thompson, 1 on Main, and there are a number of other businesses that will be going soon. And it's a numbers game. The fewer parking spaces, the less revenue it is for small business. The restaurants will survive without the outside dining. They have for many, many years. Small business will not survive with the outside dining and the loss of the parking spaces. 92 spaces that we're going to lose at the Waterfield lot. And there is absolutely no, to the best of my knowledge, there is absolutely no provisions made for where the construction workers will park. They show at 7 in the morning, they can park wherever they want. And unless there's a comprehensive traffic enforcement, it's going to be a fiasco. The second reason I'm here is to offer my assistance and my help. I worked on the parking plan with other members of the chamber, and we came up with the 1-hour parking, a few half-hour parking spots, and the fact that Laraway Road allows customers to go and get their hair done, park for 3 hours for $3, and not leave the shop with a wet head to move their cars. I've been in business for next year it'll be 50 years. I've seen it all. I've seen a lot. I've seen what goes on in front of the, on Main Street, and I can honestly tell you I probably forgot more about parking than I can remember. And, looking at your faces, probably a lot of you were in grade school when I opened up my business. Anyway, it's been a wonderful haul. My daughter is going to take over. I love the town. I live in the town. My family grew up in the town. And I am more than willing to offer advice, consultation. You can pick my brain. My door is always open. And I want to thank you for your time and the job that you're doing. And I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. To go back to one point there, when we had all of the T construction going on, we did need to do some specific enforcement and find spaces for the T's workers to park. So in considering Waterfield, we should just
we had a meeting in this very room this morning about the Waterfield project. Please, by the way, shoot an email to my office or stop by and let me have your name, because we were talking about this very issue and how important it's going to be to work with the businesses downtown, the chamber, to manage during the Waterfield development. So that's definitely, we met this morning about this. So it's going to be something that's going to be an ongoing conversation. There's going to be some challenges, but we have to do the very best we can to minimize, to work collaboratively on this. So it's right on the top of my radar screen right now.
So to deliberate on this topic, First House has 2 spots in front of their store. There's then 2 spots in front of Catch a Falling Star and Frozen Hoagies together, right? Because Frozen Hoagies, I think, is about half. The problem is it doesn't look completely.
Yeah, they don't line up.
Like a half and a half.
Yeah, it's hard to tell exactly, right? Because to the point, the lines don't line up with the businesses. And then the ramen store has kind of 1, but it's also like a half and a half because some of it's in front of Starbucks. Mm-hmm. So if we were to stick to the way we've been talking about it, we would give First House 2, and we would just give the ramen store 1. It'd be imperfect, but it would be close. And I think it would at least unblock the fronting of Catch a Falling Star and Frozen Hoagies.
Mm-hmm.
It's still going to block Main Street. I mean, it's going to be one spot taken up with everything on one end, and then the other end, same thing.
We have cars moving in and parking in, very difficult. You pull in between the barriers and all that for parking spots.
So I completely
think
agree with that,
that's
and I
a-
asked Patty, I mean, Anthony and I were here talking about this maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. I asked if we could just sort of like move Ramen to go and butt up against First House, but because it's a liquor license, you have to be in front of the door. It would make sense if you could to cluster them on one end of the block to then make it easier to access parking on the other end of the block. But the liquor license requires that if it's going to be served right outside the premises, it needs to be literally right outside the premises. We can't shift it halfway down the block to go right up in front of, shift First House to Starbucks or shift Ramen up toward First House. So I think the best we're going to do is one and one.
You'd have to, you're trying to scrunch them all down by the Eastern Bank kind of.
Yeah,
right.
Can't do
We
that.
can't.
We can't.
So,
Do you have to approve everyone that is putting one in for? I mean, if it's going to affect all the other businesses on the street, do you approve the new person that's coming in?
we'll make a decision of how we address it. I think, Chris, I have a question for you, is whether we've had Sergeant Batchelor take a look at this, or the police, in terms of the spacing of parking in between the two restaurants, and if they had any comments on that.
Jen did not share any of that with me, so I can double check, but I was with Sergeant Bachelor earlier, he did not bring that up to me.
Okay. Because, if there were any concerns, and I know there's comments about how, in another one of the applications about sort of turning around the street, that would be one thing to discuss. I think, and so Paris, maybe this is what you just said, if we were to follow this, we give Korea Ramen the space, kind of not the space right at the end where Starbucks is, but the next space in, and then
But I guess that's what I'm getting at. So
yeah, this is tricky.
if you give them this space, it's just half of them, they are in front of Frozen Hoagies too. If you give them this space, they're in front of the ramen shop and then Starbucks, which is the space I would give them. I would give them
Going
this space.
backward towards
Backward,
Starbucks.
Towards Starbucks. Well, I would think they have one space in front of, I mean, I'm looking on Google Maps. It looks like they really have one space in front of their restaurant, and it's not as much overlap as some of the other.
You're talking about this space.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed. That one's like slightly overlapping Starbucks. I agree with that. So it's pushing them away. Yeah. That would be my view. Giving them that one.
I think that's the only thing that makes sense, really, in that location.
And then I think from this side, if First House gets two, it has to be the two over here, because I think the front door of Catch a Falling Star has to be clear, so people can see the signage and get in.
So if we were to do that, that's 3 spots on this block, spaced a little bit differently than the 3 spots that were on that block last year for outdoor dining.
True.
Well, right. I mean, because First House, though, was the only one with outdoor dining.
Right.
So they're going to 2, and then there's a new restaurant who's getting 1, right? But I do think that this requires Eastern Bank to kind of agree to it, right? Because I don't, there's not 2 spots just in front of First House. It requires them to go down in front of Eastern Bank, as they did last year.
Yes.
Correct.
To get 2 spots.
Agree.
So if Eastern Bank's fine with it, I'm good giving them 2. Catch a Falling Star is not fine with it, clearly. So I think the Catch a Falling Star deserves to have an open vista of their front door. I think that's fair.
May I make a suggestion?
No, but appreciate your thoughts. So, do we have other comments, questions on this one? If we were to give First House the 2 leftmost spaces, and then to give the Ramen the space that's directly in front of their building?
I'm comfortable with that. It's not taking away any more than years past.
And Chris, can we look at, to Anthony's point, Mike's point, everyone's point, can we look at the striping before
Because that will
the
also
first Wednesday in May?
outdoor dining space as well, right? So it's not just that it would, make the parking spaces for cars smaller, but it would, kind of right size those spots. The other thing too, sorry, are you done, Michelle?
I think I am.
I know that we have our kind of downtown improvement plan that's been shelved a little bit, but as we're looking at this area in front of Eastern Bank, the crosswalk there, it's really dangerous most times of the year because the way that the road, the grade of it changes from one side to the next. Visibility is really hard, and so I know that area is where we wanted to kind of shrink the sidewalk and make, and extend out the curb a little bit more. And it seems now, especially with for pushing First House a little bit further over there, that having that area be a priority for us to shrink that sidewalk, or shrink the crosswalk and increase the sidewalk, where we've been doing that kind of all over town, right? And that seems like a priority at this point. So there's a lot of kids that are flying around, after school there, and it's especially when you're coming into the town center from the McCall area, it's very hard to see pedestrians that are waiting at the crosswalk on that side of the street.
You're saying do a bump out here?
Yep.
There's actually, there's old striping.
I know we put stripes there, but it's like, I mean, that doesn't really solve the problem.
No. You need an actual bump out.
Yeah.
Can I make one comment? I think the speed bumps are critical. I think it really slows down the traffic because people fly down that street. So if you put speed bumps on both sides, one accessing on the bridge coming down, and another one near before the restaurant and near my store or down that area will help slow down traffic, so it'll be safer for the kids across the street.
What happened to the speed bumps that used to be
They're
there?
temporary ones?
Yeah, the temporary ones.
Yeah.
We put them back.
Slow down.
Okay. We'll raise that for.
You put them back.
Yeah.
It'd be a good idea to put them back.
They're around here somewhere. I don't know.
They're with the robot speed sign.
Yeah.
Okay. Other parking, street issues? Sorry.
I just want to make a quick comment about the speed bumps and the speed. There should be a speed bump before, on Church Street, before you come around that rotary. I mean, that's where my store is, and I see people coming around that rotary at 40, 45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Request the chair to just.
Yeah, we have.
It takes 5 minutes of sitting on the bench in front of around the corner of my store, taking a break. I saw a car parked at the handicap spot without a handicap sticker. This is within 5 minutes. Somebody on one of those motorbikes
I'd request the chair to.
come through the street, do a wheelie straight up and go on right through the rotary. And then I saw a Jeep go around a couple of people in the crosswalk and speed up.
And there are some discussions around how we can clean up the rotary. So we're going to move on to vote motions on approving outdoor dining applications.
Yeah.
China Sky. Yes, we want to talk about China Sky. So that's the last application that we have, and it seems like there are some questions about the safety of those spaces on the corner and access to turning the corner when those spaces are blocked. Seems like this was not, they also haven't submitted their fee in their application, but this also seemed that this was not a super great setup the last time it was approved.
There's a real issue with emergency.
I'd request the chair to please.
Yeah, so I think unless there's someone from China Sky here, we're going to keep the comments to the table.
Or we could even, with it being late and no fee, we could just punt it to the next meeting
I'm fine with that.
Yep, yes. Okay.
and vote the first cluster kind of above that line.
Yep. So Bill, you have the specifics on the motions?
Sure. I'm going to go through these one at a time. Motion I move that the Select Board approve the use of 2 parking spots and the use of a sidewalk on Church Street to be used for outdoor dining for A Tavola with the addition of ADA access and conditional upon the submission of a master cleaning schedule and pest control contract as requested by the March 25th, 2026 email from Jennifer Carafella.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I make a correction to that?
The email's from Cam,
That email actually...
the Board of, Department of
Yeah,
Health.
It should
It's from Jen
state,
Murphy, by the way.
The email from
Yeah, it's to Jen Carafella. I'm sorry, it's from Cameron
Cameron
Bishop.
Bishop.
I'll
Yes.
correct that as I move on.
because that's who's asking that request.
Move that the Select Board approve the use of 3 parking spots and the use of sidewalk on Thompson Street to be used for outdoor dining. Wait, we didn't vote that last one, did we?
Yeah, we did.
Did we? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Used for outdoor dining for Black Horse Tavern with the addition of ADA access and conditional upon submission of a master cleaning schedule and pest control contract as requested in the March 25th, 2026 email from Cameron Bishop.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Move that the Select Board approve the use of 2 parking spots, those closer to Eastern Bank, and the use of the sidewalk on Main Street to be used for outdoor dining for First House Pub with the addition of ADA access and conditional upon the submission of a master cleaning schedule and pest control contract as requested in the March 25th, 2026 email from Cameron Bishop.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move that the Select Board approve the use of 1 parking spot towards Starbucks and the use of sidewalk on Main Street to be used for outdoor dining for Kiyu Ramen with the addition of ADA access and conditional upon submission of a master cleaning schedule and pest control contract as requested in the March 25th, 2026 email from Cameron Bishop.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Move that the Select Board approve the use of 1 parking spot and the use of the sidewalk on Church Street to be used for outdoor dining for Nouvelle Maison with the addition of ADA access and conditional upon submission of a master cleaning schedule and pest control contract as requested in the March 25th, 2026 email from Cameron Bishop.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Move that the Select Board approve the use of 3 parking spots and the use of sidewalk on Mount Vernon Street in front of the restaurant frontage to be used for outdoor dining for Lucia's Restaurant with the addition of ADA access and conditional upon submission of a master cleaning schedule and pest control contract as requested in the March 25th, 2026 email from Cameron Bishop.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Move that the Select Board approve the use of 1.5 parking spots so that the alleyway is not blocked, and the use of sidewalk on Main Street to be used for outdoor dining for Thai Chowrin with the addition of ADA access and conditional upon submission of a master cleaning schedule and pest control contract as requested in the March 25th, 2026 email from Cameron Bishop.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Aye. 4-1.
Bill was no.
4-1.
All right. So we will move on from outdoor dining. We'll take up China Sky at a future meeting. And we're going to go into override, debrief, and next steps. So Paris and Bill, I think Bill had sent a memo around override, but around next steps, but
I had requested time on it.
yeah, you've requested some time for us to discuss. So as we all know, we had a town election on the 23rd.
First. On
the 21st, we had a $11.5 million operating override on the ballot. It did not pass. So we are sort of back to discussing where we are with that, what our next steps are, any direction for town manager around the budget. So, Paris, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add to what you just said, Anthony. I think, the person who had led the state of the town, I thought it was important that we talk about what our next steps are. Some of which, when I said I was going to send some notes, when Bill's note came out, which had much more, I didn't ultimately. I guess where I am is that we have a Springtown meeting, rapidly approaching us. We have a fair amount of work to do with the school committee and finance committee and with our staff to figure out what it is we want to present. I think of us as having a few levers, one of which is revenue we can generate. We started that with the building permit fees already, and I think there's more we can do near term. I think there are cuts that we need to consider, and I think there are cuts we will have to make. That some of which will pay off near term, some of which will be more structural. Schools has the same two options around there's some fees they can raise and income they can generate. There's going to be some cuts they have to make, and then there's going to have to be some use of free cash in the proposal, right? I mean, ultimately, town meeting is going to be the body that determines how much free cash they want to use and what level they want to fund the budgets at, which would, by extension, dictate the level of cuts. But those are sort of the five pieces, and I think that we have basically a month to work with town manager, the school committee to work with the superintendent, and then for all of us to work with the finance committee to get town meeting at least a good proposal, right? Something that has more revenue from both sides, cuts on both sides, and some use of free cash and hangs together. And that's what I wanted to begin the discussion on, which is what are we considering? Because ultimately town meeting can tweak that, modify it, et cetera, but I think we have to give them at least something that's coherent as a group of two executive bodies and the financial advisor to town meeting. The three of us together have to give them something coherent that they can react to.
So I agree with that. I think we can continue down that path, and I know FinCom is here, Stacy's here, Chris probably has some ideas, having met with department heads today. One thing before we move off this topic and move into the warrant is, it's a debrief. We moved right to next steps, which is important to do because we have town meeting in a month. I think there's some lessons to learn from that override, and I think we ought to be working with town manager to do focus groups, listening sessions, surveys to understand what were some of the factors, what were some of the information people didn't have, what were some of the levers that they would have liked to see us use potentially. So I think from the debrief side of this agenda item, I'd like for us to collect some data as to why. We know, I think on election night, I was interviewed on WinCam. I said we'll be back to the voters with another question, probably within the year. I think we should just understand and unpack a bit of what happened. That doesn't negate anything that Paris said, but I think is important. FinCom has to present a balanced budget to town meeting. But I think we should take some time while memories are fresh and people had a reason to bubble in what they did. We got to think about the best ways to get that information. Not at this table right now, not to spitball and speculate, but we will need to have another override. We still have a structural deficit. We should understand, I think, what it was that was resonating and what didn't, and how does that inform the next ballot question. So we can come back to that. We can have the manager think about it and come back next week. But I think that's an important piece of the debrief piece of this agenda.
Yeah, I agree with Michelle. I think it's good for us to get some recommendations from the superintendent and town manager about where we can find some efficiencies. I know that on both sides that there were going to be some cuts, whether or not the override passed or not. So I think it's good to look at some of those things. And I think it's important to communicate to residents, not a doomsday scenario. We still are healthy with free cash. Maybe we will be using a little bit more than we wanted to. And I think we really need to hear from residents what was their, where did they lack comfort in supporting our recommendation? Because it may not be just in the number, right? So it could be in what we were funding, the way that we were doing it, or lack of committed revenue generation. So it could be several things, but I think more outreach to the community, more listening on our part, I think will be helpful. And I think people understand that we will be putting another override on the ballot, as Michelle said, within the year. So I would not feel comfortable putting one on in November, but that's my 2 cents there.
No, I was just going to say, I think, on one hand, we have an opportunity with town meeting coming up to, one, let people know sort of where we're going, but also to solicit feedback. That said, our town meeting members are, the 192 most engaged people in town. So, to think of how we can go beyond that to get some information from voters and registered voters who didn't vote is also a good data point. And Michelle, I think you had some thoughts, so I think we can come back next week maybe with a little bit of a sketched out plan of how to collect some feedback and get an understanding of how we can approach this going forward with what can we do differently, what worked, what didn't work. Anything, Bill? In terms of debrief?
No, more information is always better. So anything we can do to learn more about how people voted and why they voted that way is fine. But I think that one thing we just can't take as granted is that any override will ever pass. And I do disagree with Mike that we have a comfortable amount of free cash. That is, I think, a resource that is overly exaggerated sometimes. And so I would like to start seeing some action by us to start, as Paris said, finding some revenues that we can increase and finding some efficiencies and other things that we can cut back. And the longer we wait to start taking action, the more harmful it's going to be for the town. Which is why I would ask that next week, and if you need a motion for this, I'll make one, we notice a hearing to address our commercial rates at the transfer station, because that was something that the state of the town already did a lot of work on, and we know how much can be recouped from that. I don't see any reason to wait on that, knowing that we need that money. I have other things to say too, but I'll put that out there first to see if that's something that you as a chair would like a vote on, or you'll put on the agenda in your own power for next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about transfer station, as this is something that we're going to start looking at. We talked about creating a working group for it going forward in the spring. I think, as we approach town meeting, there's a lot going on, and a 1-week timeline to do a hearing, as well as to collect data from DPW and transfer station staff is a little bit tight, but I'm happy for us to put this on within the next couple of weeks and communicate with, work with the town manager and communicate with the staff what information we need from them to do so.
I mean, I think we already have a lot of that information. It's been collected, and we raised the rates back in November. Mm-hmm. And we'd just be reconsidering the numbers. Mm-hmm. But if you're saying that we can have it on the agenda before the end of the month, that's fine by me. I'd like to see it as soon as possible. I'd prefer to see it next week. I don't know how anyone else feels on this topic before I move on to another one.
So I guess the thing that we can start going through the ideas that are here, right? This was a topic on which a group of individuals from the state of the town body had written us a memo, right, that everybody got in October, which I've pulled up, and they had proposed a series of increases in the commercial rates. And then when we met, as everyone remembers, on the 12th, the night we voted the override, we actually talked about that, and we talked about putting in place a increase that would get us that would take sort of 2 years, but this would, and that was in the context of a successful override. So this would be bringing that forward. So I agree with you that the work is largely done. We can recirculate that memo. It's from 2 members of the State of the Town Committee plus a member of Climate Action who had worked with the staff on it. With regard to, I guess, the broader strategy, I appreciate Michelle's view that we need more information. As you said, Bill, more information is a good thing. I am of the view we should do that, and at the same time, we need to start course correcting where our budget is. And no matter what level of fee increases and revenue increases we find or reductions that we make, we are going to be burning, I shouldn't say this as an individual member of a 5-member select board, and the school committee has their view and FinCom will have their view, but I would bet we're going to be burning free cash even with that, even with the level of fees that we can find, they can find, cuts we can do achievably. I think we're going to be burning free cash too. It's going to be all, there's no silver bullet here. So I would support starting the movement towards the fee increases and some of the cuts and opening a dialogue with the school committee on their side. Because I would say we should start actioning on our side in the next month. And we have this process in like January to sit down with them.
Yeah.
We kind of need, and state of the town, of course, we're all, but we kind of need, it's like all that stuff's gone away, and it's like now we need it more than ever to actually be talking, not to bring 25 people, but to be bringing FinCom and school committee to this table, maybe and the superintendent too, those 3 bodies. We have a member of
FinCom's right here if we want him at the table.
To start to talk about
Put
these
you on
things.
the spot.
Yeah, say, okay, select board thinks they can get this fees, they think they can do these cuts, school committee thinks they can do this. What does that mean for free cash? Go back around, we have to iterate on it because it's one budget ultimately. So I'm in favor of starting to move, and I'm in favor of having a process with those 3 bodies to start having some robust conversations. So we stand up in front of town meeting and have, if not a totally unified plan, at least we're operating on the same facts.
So I think it makes a lot of sense for us to have a joint meeting with school committee to talk budgets and invite chair of FinCom, vice chair, however much of FinCom
Would show up.
would be able to attend or interested in attending. We would have to do that
Soon.
immediately,
What-
effectively.
What's the night of the budget? It's April,
Nope.
it's May
It's going to
6th?
be May.
No sooner than May 3rd,
May 4th.
May 4th.
May 4th.
Yeah.
Though it's likely not going to be that first night. It might be May 7th.
No, but May 4th is night 3.
Correct, but you can't take up any financial articles for the next year until May 4th. So everything the first 2 nights of town meeting are current
not
year
for
and
you.
zoning and other things.
So it probably will be night 3 though, right? It was last year too, I think. So we have
So as early as May 4th, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, we have 5 weeks.
Now, the 20th, yeah, we have 2 meetings and then meeting before town meeting on the 27th. So I think we would either try to get with them the week of the 13th or
What are the
separately
meetings
the
that
week
we
of
have?
the 20th. What's that?
What are the meetings that we have?
April 6th, April 13th. Then we do not have a meeting the week of school vacation week. That Monday is a holiday.
Right.
And then April 27th, that is a session before town meeting.
6/13/27.
Welcome.
Oh, Patriots Day.
We've invited ourselves to the
I
table.
would be fine if we need to meet that week, though. We can the week of or the 20th. I appreciate we can't meet on the 20th, but if we need to meet that week, we could.
Can I ask a logistical question? When is the yellow sheet due to town meeting members? Because that will drive, I think, these discussions.
So just ask the chair of FinCom.
Before we take up the budget. So
7 days.
the 27th or the 28th of April. That's when the yellow sheet's going to be due.
The yellow sheet is important. I also think that I mean, there have been years where FinCom and school committee are negotiating on the floor. So conversations can continue up to that, jointly agreed upon amendments.
Why don't we,
Your book is due the week before that.
what's
Yes.
today? The 30th?
Yeah, it's always 2 weeks before
Yes.
4th,
Okay.
realistically. But
Can we reach out to them for a meeting the week of April 6th? And if not, then they can join our meeting on the 13th?
So can I have a clarifying question for what you're, because in reality, we're working now in the backgrounds collectively, also with the schools. And so if there's some guidance you could give now or things that are not, don't want to waste time going down the wrong directions, but directionally, like you said, we're, although I'm compelled to commit a balanced budget, realistically, as Paris has said and all of you have said, we're most likely going to have use of free cash. And so, if there was kind of even a guide rail of what is deemed acceptable to work towards, that would be helpful. Realistically, at the moment, it's somewhere between, I would say at the moment, your deficit is what, 6.7 million in the current state, roughly, depending on use of things like circuit breaker and other things, and where the revenue number comes in. The low end's probably more in the 4.5-4 range. So that's just, if that's something.
Can you explain? So there's 6.5.
So if you take Chris's, so we're working in together. So the current budget is roughly about 6.7 million.
Yeah, there was a $5.1 million infusion of free cash to balance the 27 budget, but there are also cuts in there that haven't been.
26 budget.
27 budget.
Okay.
Talking about 27.
Okay.
Yeah, so 5.1 million balanced somewhat of the budget. There were still 430,000 of a cut in the town, $277,000 cut in unallocated or undistributed, and then another 980,000 school cuts. So to balance, really, it's not 5.1 million of free cash, it's closer to 6 point whatever, if you do that math quickly.
So the 6.5, Derek, you got that down to 4.5, you said?
Well, so if you...
where you think we're going to...
Not to solve it here, but different levers are, we can look at circuit breaker for 2027, which, is about if you use, you can use about $1 million.
That would be about half, at least
Right.
half.
Half is about $1 million. The revenue figures, we're always...
you think if you take out the conservatism?
Yeah, so
$1 million.
If you look at this,
you think local receipts are a little undercounted?
Correct. Yeah. Plus the initiatives,
That will go after. Yeah. Maybe there's another $500,000 on our
right
on our fees.
That's what I'm thinking, right?
Right. Transfer station is another thing that pull forward.
One left.
So if you get to $1 million and $1 million, you're down to in the
$4 million
in the
of free
fours.
cash, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you get down to $4 million of free cash, right, that's where you can, see what schools can do. And but by the way, when we talk about $4 million of free cash, what are we assuming for schools? 5%?
5%.
Level services. So in any level of one-time investment?
Not in, so just their. Well, when you say one time, you're
Their
talking
literacy
the
article.
Yes. So that would be separate.
Okay.
So simply consistent what we've been talking about all along in the state of the town, which was, their commit, and in their defense, they're coming also down to that 5. So it's not like they're not doing anything.
Because I think that's what was Chris's budget, was the 5?
Yeah.
So that is all based on the 5 for the school.
So this is like where I feel like we need all be together, and Derek, maybe
That's
you
what I'm
can put it on
saying.
a
That's why I
spreadsheet.
wanted to bring out, this is kind of where we are at the moment. And so to your point, if we have a meeting in 2 weeks, we're going to be working on this before then. So if, if you want to meet earlier, that would probably make more sense. By the time 2 weeks is done, we're going to be pretty close to hopefully having
You'll be writing your book.
Yeah.
But we need to know what schools is doing on athletic fees. We need to know, are they bringing their literacy article? They control so
Correct.
much of this picture. And we have to have them.
We're also talking, so just in terms of, they have work to do, we all have work to do. But I would think if we're going to meet, it would make sense more to meet sooner than the 2 weeks from now. But that's kind of where we are, just to give a...
Well, I think short of us crashing their meeting on Thursday, we can meet next week.
I think they're trying to, on Thursday, size different levers, right? Like if we did this, it would be this. If we did this, it would be this. And then I think that's where next week we have to just all put it on the table. Like, what can they do? What can we do? What are they looking to bring? What are we looking to bring?
that makes
and how
the
much
most
free
sense.
cash can we?
Yeah.
I agree. We can use some. We also can't use $7 million of free cash, right? Like, I'm not going to vote for that. So
I know. I mean,
I mean, even the 5 is like 24%, 25% of our free cash balance. So I know we'll replenish them at the end.
But then if we can bring that
26.
down with some of these actions, right? If we can bring that down, but then, schools might be trying to bring some additional expense. Like this is where it's just going to go like up and we have to like negotiate.
Personally, I feel that it's always been targeting that doing more than 4 is difficult.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's,
And this is a true 4. This isn't I mean, Stacey, you're starting at 6.5. You're taking you're putting more revenue into that, into Stacey's number.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at, like I was saying, from a half full perspective this year, we're going to be pretty close to break even.
Yeah, 26.
Where our assumption,
26.
Yeah, we
And
assume
yes.
we're using $3.5 million of free cash to balance 26. We'll close probably with either a 0 or a little bit above and below that. So
And that's why the 6.5 we've never talked about publicly. We've always talked about it as sort of 5.5, because we knew there was conservatism in the 6.5.
Well, I mean, with the local receipts, to be fair, we went through the history, we analyzed every single line. I don't think it's as conservative as some people believe. I personally don't think it is. However, it's not my budget, so if you want to put some revenues that are going to be really tight, we're not going to have much to close in
The
27.
comptroller does a great job of forecasting to a level that needs to be done. And every year we have this discussion.
Every year.
It's not something.
Because I have to do the recap when the numbers don't come out. It's, we're strapped.
I'm going to arbitrate the comptroller war that's been going on.
We have a very good relationship.
That was a joke. I'm just saying
we understand each other's roles.
That the 6.5 is the comptroller, town manager's figure. When you talk about 4.5, you're already putting in sort of the FinCom additions, if you will.
I'm not going to call them the FinCom additions,
that's my
just
term.
levers that we can, using this 6.5 as a start, what things can we do to maybe
Close the gap.
close the gap?
Yeah.
My term, not yours.
Because Chris and Stacey are also helping closing the gap.
So it's back.
It sounds like we need to get our levers in gear.
I believe we do.
And that one of those is a transfer station, which hopefully we'll talk about next week. And then next week we set up a meeting between schools, select board, and FinCom, and Capital should probably be involved too. To put all these levers on the table and discuss bigger budget options. Is that the consensus here?
Well, if we're doing just operating, I don't know that we need capital.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think the other parties make sense. And I guess, Chris, anything you want to speak to in terms of, I know you started some revenue, and any other updates for the board on the revenue side of things? I know you had a meeting with department heads and talked about hiring freezes. Anything else beside transfer station and some other things that you're pursuing?
Well, we're still looking at all the building and zoning fees that are there, things we can tweak. I asked every department today to look at everything we charge. Are we appropriate? I said we're not looking to start raising a lot of money in fines, but if we're charging $20 for a ticket that nobody cares about, it's not going to get a deterrent effect either. So I asked for a look at those things. And again, all those things that we just got a 0% increase on our property casualty. So
$20,000 savings. We'll take it.
But it's every 10, 20, $30,000 matters, right? So one of the other things is also, can an investment in like additional software save us time and money, like on building permits? Like can we, extending that software to planning and conservation and health? Will that, because there's a lot of paper that floats around, there's a lot of delays, can we speed some of that stuff up? So we're looking at, I've asked for that to accelerate. If there's something we can do, a one-time small increase, will that save us money? And how we might be able to do things a little bit differently. So we're not talking about all of those things. So I don't have a pot of money, a gold pot I can bring you today, but we're obviously looking at all of those things. So.
How much time do you need to identify where in the budget there are things that we can cut that are places that we can save money, they're good quality of life things, but they don't really touch upon core mission or public safety issues?
Well, I've asked for that to come back on an expedited basis. Not tomorrow, but in the next week or two, I expect to have at least the first cut of those, so we can say, these are things, if we need to do it, this is the first things we would do.
As you gather that information, can you immediately circulate it to all members of the board so we get it as soon as you have it?
It'll be equally shared. And again, we've already started. Once you charged me with some of these things back in February, I already had a couple of preliminary meetings, but I was going to finish some of the work after Tampa Day. Obviously, we're accelerating some of that on the transfer station in particular. And we've talked about there, including the sale of the loan that we develop, right? I mean, I've been up there a couple of times. There's a belief, again, we're not talking about, bagging and becoming Miracle-Gro here, but it's, there's product, there might be something we're not able to do that to generate more revenue. And even, I was talking about selling wood chips for people.
Landscapers?
Yeah, well, landscapers also for a fuel. People burn them too, in stoves and stuff. So there's, and these conversations are happening. So I've asked everyone to be thinking seriously about that. So of course you have coming up the whole solar conversation too. Anything that bends our curves on energy, right? The other side of this we're also facing is that energy costs are now, we don't know, right? I mean, we use diesel and gas all the time. Asphalt is made of oil, and plastics fuel everything. So we don't know what that's going to do yet. So that's the other side of this. We're going to have to make some adjustments just for those, just to be under control. But we're looking at it.
So where are we in terms of what do we need to do? So there's transfer station fees. We've already done building permit fees. There's what you're describing, Chris, which is a bunch of levers to departments, right, to reduce staffing, right? So because
or change program delivery.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. So I asked Bob today, how many times do we sweep the streets? What do we do? Is there money to be? I mean, we don't make things dirtier, right? We talked about fertilizer. I said, well, if we're going to still plow the streets, but we may not fertilize our grass quite so much. And how much do we save on that? Because the price of fertilizer is also going through the roof, right? I hate for people to play on less than the pristine grass fields, but it's better to do that than not have our rat inspection going on, right? So those are the things I've asked for as first cuts.
I guess to take a big step back, right? I mean, the way the superintendent has approached it is, here's what it takes to balance the budget. Here's what I'd recommend you do, which is shy of balancing the budget, right? It's using some free cash. So I do think we need the menu of, I mean, there's the income side, but on the cut side, I think we need the menu, right? I mean, because I don't think if town meeting asks us, well, what would it take to actually bring free cash down to zero? We could say, we didn't even look. I think we have to answer, here's what it is, and we don't recommend you do it.
Every year FinCom does it, and every year we vote not to do it.
No, but
I'm going to have to do it, so I'm going to, just like we did last year, like we did before, we will show what would be done to get there.
But that's a numbers base. So what I think, what I hear you.
You're making the assumption it's numbers. That's not. We meet with everyone.
Yeah.
And we come up with
data.
But you'll actually say it would be this level. Like, are you going to get to the level where you say, what's the operational impact? Okay. Like, this is going to be what happens. It's going to be 5 layoffs at this department. Here's going to be the impact.
So, so we try our best.
Yeah.
So we have for the municipalities, to be honest, we're at that level. For the schools, we go to the level for which we have access to information on. And so we have discussions, ideally, and why we meet with all these folks. Our job isn't to manage them operationally, and so we have a discussion on what they come with, similar to what you've asked, to get to a balance, to get to this level of spend, what would you do operationally to make that happen? So these aren't, it's not realistic that a finance committee could tell the schools how to run their operations, or Chris. But, collectively, part of the whole process is to get not just numbers, but to what actually, and that's what we will present, to get to a balanced budget.
Yeah.
So it will not just be, hey, schools, you need to cut X million, and municipalities, you need to cut Y. So we'll get to pretty operational level, but it's a joint effort, and that's what the process is.
Thank you. That's helpful. I think, well, I guess what I'm asking for then is quite simple, which is for that to be done by this board and the school committee and FinCom together with staff.
Yeah.
Well, I think FinCom's already working with the town manager and the superintendent, right?
Yeah, like, so we had police and fire last week. We sat down with Dan and we went through and had the discussion of, we're to get to a balance. It's going to have some cuts. You're working with Chris. What would be things that you would delay or need to cut to get to lower levels? Now, Chris ultimately tells them what that level he needs that to be. That doesn't come from us, but we discussed
so let me be very clear, because I guess there's some confusion. I've asked for the select board, which authorized the override and would have to authorize another one to be part of that conversation. I am not prepared to vote for another override at all until the select board is part of those conversations. That simple.
So we'll work on getting a meeting early next week.
Thank you.
That we can do that. So we'll work on finding some times that either tacking onto our meeting. I don't know when the school committee meets, but figuring out a time that we can all get together for that, and we'll send out some options.
And I would recommend we start actioning these revenue and cost items sooner, right? Select board is going to be the body that has to actually take these votes and hold these public hearings, right? So let's get this conversation going. I would like to talk about the commercial fee rates soon.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it'll be helpful, especially for town meeting, that they see an overall, strategy.
Yes, I agree.
What we're working on, not just piecemealing things.
I agree
with that. To not get in the way. Certainly, we can have a meeting with all of us, but I don't want to get in the way of what Chris and Derek and FinCom and the superintendent are doing right now, because they've already been doing a lot of this work. Right?
You're removing the select board from a process that is a direct result of the select board controls the municipal side of the government. We control a great deal of these fee changes and the question about putting an override on the ballot, and you are exiting us from the process. I do not agree with that.
No, I don't think that's what he said.
He said let FinCom work with town manager and the school committee.
He said let's not, the process is, he just asked us to not slow it down. I don't think Mike said
I said we'll meet on the 6th, the 13th, and the week of the 20th.
And I said we'd be happy to meet and have a meeting. I started off by saying that with us, but I don't want to slow the process down by us getting into let's just have one piecemeal solution and one. I don't
think anything I've ever proposed has been piecemeal. It'd be an interesting comment that that's the case.
Well, we just started talking about the transfer station.
Well, the transfer station is just the first thing in this memo that's in front of us.
But you said that's the priority of things, and so I'd like to see everything at once, a strategy coming from the town manager and the superintendent, and then us having discussion all together about it. Because I don't know why that seems crazy to you. I mean, this is the way that we've been doing it for a long time. So
explain.
So we talked about already.
Just in your time on the board or anyone's time on the board. So there's no a way that you've been doing it for a long time. No one's had to experience this since 2011.
I was on FinCom then.
You were.
There you go. So just to be clear, what we were talking about.
This board's role in the process, which is what I just heard us not having a role in.
No.
I didn't hear that. Wait, stop. Okay. What we're talking about is having a meeting the week of the 6th with the school committee, town manager, superintendent, FinCom, comptroller. You're always invited, Stacey. To talk about the levers and the process so that we can have the substantive discussion before FinCom is building the budget book. We also talked about, ahead of that discussion, and I think Paris is looking back to it, talking about transfer station rates. We can talk about, based on the earlier memo on transfer station rates, prior to having a hearing where we actually make that decision, we can look at transfer station rates, what's feasible, what we can adjust, and give ourselves and DPW, if there's any new information, anything around the pilot program that they've been running that needs to be updated before we have a hearing. I think we're not talking about doing anything piecemeal. We're talking about what are the things we need to do to have this conversation, and what are the other material things, whether they're in the memo or outside of the memo, that should be discussed at that time.
Yes, and I would point out, the chair of the Finance Committee just asked us to try to give direction as it relates to the level of free cash use. So how do we stay out of the process when that is the request that just came from the FinCom?
Again, I never said stay out.
Well, you said don't
okay,
slow
we're
it
done.
down.
We're good.
You said don't slow it down, let them work
Maybe
together.
we should stop
That was the
talking
request.
and start getting things done. If we agree that a meeting needs to happen, let's have that.
Okay.
Everybody does.
So we're going to move on to the next piece, because we're talking in circles over having a meeting the week of the 6th, talking about the transfer station, which was the first item in the memo. Are there other things, either within the memo or other pieces, that we need to discuss around revenue, other areas, in terms of next steps?
In my opinion,
Budget.
yes. As I laid it out in my memo, I think the OPEB issue, without going into detail, it's clearly was part of our executive session today. I won't say anything about that discussion.
We'll keep moving.
Which moves on to potentially outsourcing certain services like DPW custodial. I would like the town manager to begin looking into how that can be done, what it can mean for the town, what sort of savings that can bring. And, I respect that's going to be a longer process, but I would like the town manager to start working on that now. And Chris, if you need a vote for that, say so and I'll make a motion. Or if anybody else here wants me
Was that
to.
a recommendation from the state of town, or was that?
It was.
Well, it was something we
It was
discussed.
a discussion.
It was not a
It
recommendation.
was not a recommendation. The state of the town didn't make concrete recommendations like this. We did a lot of analysis, right? The select board is the one who came by. We did have a conversation about it as a select board.
Yeah.
The state of the town didn't make any recommendations. They didn't even recommend an override number.
That's true.
That was all select board.
So I think it's time to start having the town manager look more closely at that option and what it could possibly mean.
So maybe we can get an update in our next meeting, in our executive session. I think we could discuss that.
If that's feasible.
This is a very complicated question, obviously, because
So-
it's not just the leverage you have to use to do it. It's what are the operational costs to it, right?
I appreciate that.
Right.
I just want to get the ball rolling.
Right. No, I understand that. So if I could, I could start that, but I'm not going to have anything for you next week that's going to be any more than here's a roadmap for figuring out more.
That would be fine.
Okay.
That would make me happy. It would show that we're moving in that direction to at least get informed on something that could make a big savings for the town.
You need labor council for that,
Yeah.
because I think that was the person we had spoken to last time. I think to me, the other big one is number 4. Number 1 and number 4. The other two are longer term. And then 5 and 6 are different, the capital related and future override, which you've heard my opinion on. So I would look at number 4, which is the departmental review and what are the cuts it takes to bring to balance. I'm not suggesting we will ultimately recommend that to town meeting, but I think we have to start with that level of analysis.
I think, didn't Derek just commit to doing that? But we're going to have to see it, right?
I think Chris has already said it as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he was working on that.
Yeah. Okay. That was the question I had asked 5 or 10 minutes ago.
Okay, so it sounds like that's kind of an item that we're moving forward for our next meeting and for our meeting with schools and FinCom, is to be able to talk more about what those potential reductions are. I appreciate that the superintendent does very clearly lay out sort of a memo of what needs to be done and what the options are and sort of the menu of items, and that might be a good tool for us to have something similar.
That's what I'm hearing we're getting, so.
Well, the next issue I raised in my memo was the fact that with the failure of the override, we don't have a more robust stabilization fund to be drawing from. And though this is not my preferred use of the CPA funds that we have, I think we need to start really targeting those for projects that would be on our capital queue, are on our capital queue, and having those get some sort of priority in consideration. We have a lot of buildings that we wanted to address with increased stabilization funds that are considered historic and would be eligible for those CPA funds. And I think as a policy issue for this board, we should send that message to the WCCP. And they might not agree with it, but that would be our position. And hopefully we get control of our capital queue and we can go back to what I would really like the WCCP to be. But for right now, I think that's just a resource that we need to use for what's really necessary.
Didn't they just have their public hearing last week? Okay, maybe we should understand the outputs of what the community wants to do with those funds before we dictate that they can't use those funds that way.
This is our
Town meeting appropriates it.
It's our opinion.
It's just our opinion, exactly.
Oh.
Like people can
I don't
disagree.
share that opinion at all. 80%? No. That could be your opinion. That could be a 3-2 vote of the select board's opinion, but I will not jump onto that opinion.
Okay. How about giving a priority or preference to projects put forth by the town that are currently on our capital queue?
I think I'd like to see Chris's, I think it makes a lot of sense. I'd like to see Capital's plan, and I'd like to compare that to what WCCP heard, and then see where they align.
We got 2 public comments that were about the carriage house.
Yeah.
Carriage house.
We got 2 public comments, both about the carriage house. And
Not a capital priority.
Not a capital priority.
But the town hasn't really brought anything. And, more CPA funds could have been given to the Lincoln Chiller back in the fall, but they weren't because they didn't have the direction that I'm asking us to give them now. I think that this would help our capital queue, and I think that has to be prioritized now.
Well, the direction is the opposite of what the policy purposes of the CPA. We just passed it, so people are, they well understand what we sold to them, and I think building trust in the community to pass another operating override, maybe debt exclusion for some of the larger asset projects that we're looking at. I think it would be really bad form to really have a bait and switch right when we just passed the CPA. It is, the purpose of the CPA is for projects that come from the community up, not from the town top down, right? So that is what, the history of it has been. It's been there for more than 25 years, and so it would be very cynical, I think, for us to turn the whole policy initiative of the CPA, what we sold people, into something that is just another stabilization fund for the town.
Sure. I have a different recollection from you. I remember telling town meeting and telling the voters that the CPA funds could be used to help with our capital projects. It's not my preference, but we're in kind of a drastic time right now, and this is not what I want the CPA to be for its entire future. But until we have these things under control, it's a lever I think we have to pull, or at least consider. And I'd like to have this on the agenda for a vote next meeting. Messaging to the WCCP.
I don't think that we are in drastic times, and I really caution the language that the select board uses when we are describing what is out in front of us. I am confident we will pass another override. I think when we reach out to the community and we build more trust around what we're doing and why, and provide a strategy, I think it will all come together. So I don't think upending the way that we do everything is the best strategy. So,
okay.
Well, this goes back to the first thing Michelle said, which is I think we need to, if I had to guess, we have radically different opinions about what happened on the 21st. And so that's probably why we have I won't say radically, we have different opinions on how to go forward, right? I think what you're saying is you are not confident in a capital override or an exclusion. I'm putting that in your mouth, with those words in your mouth. I appreciate that. And Mike, I think you just said the opposite. So that is the fundamentally different shared understanding that that if one believes that we have to recalibrate the government on the basis of the revenue we have today with 2.5% plus growth versus we don't, we're going to come to very different conclusions about where to go from here.
I think that's a fair summary of how we're seeing this. And we're going to have some split votes over these issues. But I think we need to just start making them and start moving forward. And, some of us will be in the majority and some of us will be in the minority. But I think we need to start taking action one way or the other. And in terms of the CCP, I think the sooner we can give some direction there, the more clarity we're going to have, and everyone benefits from that. So I'd like that to be a vote that we take at our next meeting.
And Bill, you said that you didn't think that you want to have this strategy for the CPA funds employed for a long time.
I would, in a perfect world, Mike,
Yep.
we'll pass a very robust override in November, and we could immediately give the CPA back to the bottoms-up grassroots dynamic that I really wanted to have. But until the budget is under control, until our capital queue is under control, I got to see everything, being geared towards a reality where an override doesn't pass. Now, I don't want to do it in a way that completely burns everything forever. Certain things can be brought back, and this is one. So I'd like to, in my opinion, we gear this towards our issue right now. It is one that is a path that is easily corrected when we have the comfort and availability to do that. And I hope it comes sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I don't think, starting off with anticipating split votes of the board is the best way for us to build trust in the community, which was one of my priorities, what I mentioned when we voted for the override number. So,
sure.
So I'm concerned that this is the way that we're starting out. I do appreciate Bar saying, we need to discuss among us a little bit more of what happened and to figure out if there are things that we can agree on as we move forward and create a strategy. But I'll leave it at that. I'm a little concerned about the direction that we're taking, but it's fair.
So one point I'll make on CCP, and we can probably, it sounds like, Bill, you're suggesting we would take this up at the next meeting or the meeting after that. When we talk about a lack of shared understanding, the polling results on this, I think they averaged 55% of about 50 town meeting members. There were a bunch of 10 people who said, let me contextualize what I'm saying. We asked them what share in the rec and historic buildings categories we, as Michelle and I were involved in it, as was Christina Marshall, as was Roger McPeak, and we polled them, and they all could write a comment. And the comments were, this should all be quality of life. This should be like 0% capital. And then a bunch of people voted 80. And then there's a bunch in the middle. And that was before we had an override. That didn't work, right? So we have the full gamut of opinion among town meeting members. I would suggest to you, among this board potentially too, on the level of capital overlap we should be doing here. Obviously it can't be 100 because community housing and open space have to be the 10, right? They have to be minimum 10. So, and I don't think it can actually be 0, to be clear, either, because historic buildings is going to be it'll get you a minimum.
And there's some admin in there.
And there's admin in there, right? So the question is, what should be the level of coordination? And the point you're making is, if it was X before the override didn't pass, which had a capital component to it, it's
X plus
1.5X today, whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think the problem is we should probably debate what X is in the first place, what it would be with an override, and then from there, if we believe that number has increased at all. Again, town meeting sort of said 50, but what was interesting is it was like a bunch of very low numbers and a bunch of really high numbers, and then some of them.
I think the town manager has a lot on his plate right now, but it's the town manager's capital plan, to which the capital planning committee is advisory to the town manager,
Correct.
not to us, to the town manager, and the WCCP they are appropriated by town meeting. We can have lots of opinions, we can have lots of wish lists. At the end of the day, it ought to be the manager's plan for capital, and CCP and town meeting can choose to invest as they wish, but this is what I don't think we should have our thumb on the scale without understanding what an updated capital plan looks like. And I think next week is way too soon to say, 40%.
Mike,
I just think it's way too soon.
Did you have another comment? And then I think we can
Yeah, thank you, Andy.
move on.
I was just going to say that with the override, the problem that we were solving for on the capital side, the 2.5 that we recommended, was town hall, was debt service on town hall project, and a roof maybe, right? For a school, right? So on one roof. So the CPA is not going to be able to handle that, right? So we were comfortable at that point. Then you think it will.
Well, you could take the base scope of town hall, which was 8-9 million, and you could bond that against the CPA, right? Historic buildings.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's that fair. I guess it's possible. It was, but our strategy was the additional revenue debt service for those two major projects that the stabilization funds would never be able to handle, right? And so, but beyond that, I think what we heard from Capital was otherwise the stabilization fund funds could handle the smaller projects that were there. So I think, if our strategy is, as I'm hearing, to come back in the fall with another override, which would include, I'm assuming, that exclusion for these projects, I don't think that we need to necessarily take every dollar out of the CPA funds. With that said, because we did that kind of pilot round of the CPA last year, they didn't spend, a large chunk, or didn't allocate or recommend allocating by town meeting a large chunk. So there is a little bit more there than left over from the previous cycle. And maybe that's a conversation if there are priority projects for us to look at in the capital queue. But other than that,
you could do Lincoln McCall and Town Hall, right?
Yeah. So I think WCCP is a much more nuanced conversation on both what our role is here, how much input we can provide, frankly, how much they need to take from us. We could give them our opinion and they don't have to act on it. They'll have a report at town meeting, but I don't think even do they have their application out yet? Does anybody know that?
For the fall cycle? I don't believe they do.
So I think we have time to provide consideration on WCCP, whether it's, giving our opinion on percentage that's used, suggesting that, unspent funds are moved forward, taking a position ourselves on which projects we would provide sort of a select board, letter of support on. I think that that's something that I don't think we need to do that right away, and we can kind of move forward and think of what our sort of options are and talk about that in a more nuanced way on WCCP.
Well, I might suggest, I have one just random comment that I might make a suggestion on this. I mean, I think that as we're talking to school committee and FinCom on the operating side, it would make sense for whoever we elect as our capital rep, or maybe the whole board, to talk to CCP and the capital planning committee and the CPA committee, to just talk about what they're planning. They do have a spring article on Forest Ridge, it's a Concom initiative. I don't know what the status of that is. I assume they're still bringing it. And what is their approach from there? And what is our approach, right, with regard to capital? Is it going to be an exclusion in the fall? Is it going to be an operating override in the fall? Is it going to be all of that in the spring? I think we need to have that discussion together. I mean, I don't know how else to do it. Capital planning, I think, would have the view that that's certainly getting the schools, Lincoln McCall and Ambrose, off the queue, with Town Hall off the queue, which was sort of the two halves of the capital stabilization fund infusions, the BSF and CSF infusions we had put on the 21st ballot, would help, but certainly not cure their problems, because they needed 3.5 and we were at 2.5. But it certainly would help a great deal. And I will go back to this, the point I made earlier on the November override question. Mike, you said the strategy is in the fall. I guess I know that's in the memo. I haven't certainly expressed a support for that. I haven't heard anyone else express support for that yet either. So I don't
support for what?
For a fall question.
Oh, I've heard say it. Yeah.
What one person, but I haven't heard 3 people say that, or even 2. So.
Okay.
I'm not there. Sorry, but I mean, I appreciate where you are.
That's fine.
I think we have an enormous amount to do.
Yeah. Yes. The most important thing to me is that we start talking about this stuff and moving it along. I'm not saying anything I'm suggesting has to be done or I'm walking out of this board. I just don't want us to lose momentum now. This is too dangerous of a time to sit around and do nothing.
I don't think anyone would lose momentum.
Good.
The override, we all voted for it. It lost. We all lost. None of us lost more than others. Some of us lost more time, I will grant you. I spend a lot of time in the state of the town too. We all lost the override. We're all going to feel the impacts, and none of us are going to stand pat and say, well, it's a wish list. Well, we'll just hope for the next one. We're going to do the work. We committed to doing the work. Before we put the question on, we tasked the manager on February 12th to do a ton of work. So I appreciate, Bill, but no one's going to say, well, hope is a strategy. Let's do nothing. Let's just sell it harder, or let's just cut to the core and freak everybody out. There's lots of balanced approaches. We should do all of them. And I think everybody at this table is committed to doing so, including our two guests at this end and our manager. So we can move on.
So I appreciate Bill's memo, provides context for if we were to put a question on the ballot in November, and a time frame to do so. If we're going to do a ballot in November, July 6th is the deadline to submit the question. So something to consider is that if it's a consideration of us operating in that timeline, we do need to move sooner rather than later on it. We can't make that decision. It's not a local election timeline where we have a pretty tight turnaround with that. It is 120 days ahead of the November election. So just to put that out there as something that we're going to need to address quickly-ish if it's going to come back around in November.
So we have three things we have to just think about, I think, in terms of deadlines. We have springtime meeting, obviously operating budget. We have a lot of work to do with school committee and FinCom. The CPA chair just sent me a note saying that the applications are due, I think, end of April for the fall cycle. So to the extent we want to convene, Chris, to appreciate Michelle's point that CIP is really your initiative, the Capital Planning Committee and the WCSP, and have a conversation with them around putting some things in, right? Well, last year we did we put in Lincoln Chiller, or DPW put in Lincoln Chiller? Town manager did, and we debated endorsing it and actually didn't endorse it. This year it sounds like you would endorse it, or you'd be voting to endorse it.
The failure of the override has changed my opinions on lots of things.
So last year, Chris, they did put in Town Hall HVAC. It was like more half-hearted, and then they put in Lincoln Chiller, which was, they actually got funded. It got $50,000, but it got something.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole bunch of park projects that were put in, backstops and this and that. But if we need to get that in by April 30th, that's another 4-week sprint. We have to choose what we're going to put in, or the town manager does, at least. And then, to your point, Anthea, I guess this deadline's July, though. So that's on the other side of the town meeting, at least. If there's a will for a November question. So those are the three deadlines we just have to think about.
Paris, can I say one thing? So it's what would help from what has been shared, and it ties to what Bill said. Anything that we identified, may it be transfer station, the incremental potential revenues in state of the town, that you all can identify as things we can, to Bill's point, do sooner, helps de-risk the delta between the revenue line, conservatism, whatever you want to call it. So all those things are great to be pulled forward. And so
I have one question about November. If you do put an override question, would that be effective July 1 of 26 for FY27 or for FY28?
No, I think it has to be effective January 1. I don't think.
Well, January is still FY27, so we would have to either get on the tax bills in December right after our town meeting, and the first 2 quarters would be paid estimates at it's a pre-override amount, and then the next 2 quarters would be pumped up to accommodate the override. So I just wanted to make sure that we talk about those specifics, whether it's an FY27 or 28 override.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. So let's
the choreography would have to be done very carefully between fall town
It's
meeting.
very tight as it is with the doing the recap right after the close of town meeting. If it goes longer than 3 days, it's always a little bit of a challenge. But
I think practically
it can be done. But
I think practically what you would do is you would not revise the budget. You would pull enough to balance free cash. To take just that, you'd pull just a little bit.
and we would have to do that at the town meeting to change so the override vote would happen as we're doing town meeting.
Yeah,
So it's really, the timing is a little rough for an FY27 ask, that's all.
Town meeting starts on the 5th of November.
I think it'd be easier to just implement FY28.
Yeah, but we can just talk about it, I just wanted to throw it out there.
So, can we let's punt on that for like 2 weeks? Because we need to get the budget
What's
sorted.
that? CCP?
Even beginning to discuss timeline.
The next override question.
Yeah.
We can punt on that to November as far as I'm concerned.
Well, July.
No, I mean November. I said don't do it. That's what I mean.
February 14th.
Yeah.
No, sooner than February 14th. November.
All right, so we'll come back to that another time. It is approaching 10 o'clock very quickly. Anything else that we want to talk about on this, or are we ready to move on to town meeting motions?
We can move on.
Sounds like we're ready to move on to town meeting motions.
Wednesday, and so tomorrow?
All right, Stacy, Derek, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
So this is our warrant articles, this document that we have. This is-
Can you fly one around?
Yeah, bring it around.
Wherever it goes.
And
I'll just get
so, Chris, what do we need to do here with
So we have.
what we have? Can I see that? I don't have a copy. Mike, do you have another copy?
Oh.
If you have the, so I drafted two, the 7 and 15. That's for the local occupancy excise tax and the general stabilization, at least to have a conversation. Then you have the human rights one. It's actually in my report. I have it listed. I think Patty wrote the motions for tonight. For the,
They have what you did.
right.
I've never received the human rights.
Are we looking at the document of just our warrant articles right now?
That's what I'm looking at. I hope that's right.
Yeah.
You have articles. I have 7,
in our
15,
packet.
16, and 28. Then you have the.
7,
Those are all in the packet tonight.
8, 15, 16.
So I don't know, but we don't have motions for any of these.
You do. You have motions for.
25.
So like it's tonight. You have you have the motion for Article 7, which is the local occupancy excise tax. That's in the packet. 15, the general stabilization fund. Again, the number was kind of based on your conversation. You can change it to whatever you want. And then you need to, and then you have a solar raise, which Ken provided. He's here tonight. And then you need to just vote to co-sponsor, if you want to, the Article 28 Literacy Initiative, which the school committee presented, which you have in your packet. So
Where are the motions? I'm sorry.
They're at the very
they're
end.
at the end.
Not
If you
that-
keep scrolling in the packet,
The packet, not the select board
not in the
article
select board
PDF.
articles.
So it's a different attachment, Paris. I was in the other one too.
The last page I have is the
Oh, committee things.
committee thing. Yeah, I don't
Well,
think
it's
I
not
Not
quite
in
the
that
end.
packet. It's on the packet.
It's after the Arlington memo.
Oh,
Comes right after the
yeah,
Arlington memo.
it's like page 50.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
It's 45 for me.
Yeah, 45. 44.
This one.
Yeah.
These are going to be changed, obviously. I just wanted to give you something to work with. So.
And I thought there was there was a motion that was sent to Mary Ellen for the human rights.
Do we have the human rights one?
But the human rights article.
The article has the full.
It's almost like a motion inside it.
Yeah, the article has the full bylaw now.
And the motion's got to be to adopt the article as presented. Yeah. So it's pretty simple.
So as in previous years, we've said it as substantially in the form.
So you can always adopt that one next week if you want to, the Article 4, because you have a little time on it. So for Article 7 was the occupancy tax. Basically, it's just to adopt MGL 64G, Section 3A, establish a local minimum occupancy tax at a rate of 6%. And I pulled the information out in the background from the various emails that we sent around earlier. So that can always be amended. But
it's good.
Yeah, I want to go back to 4 when we do this one, but I'm good with 7 as is. Okay, can I ask my question about 4, which is just 4 residents, one of whom must be Council on Aging, one of whom must be disability access, 2 students, and school department, school committee, town manager designee, police chief designee, but the chair cannot be an employee of the town. Is the school committee, school department person an employee of the town? Because the chair must be from the 4 residents, none of whom are town meeting members by definition?
No, they could be town meeting
They can be,
members.
but they don't have to be.
Correct. They don't have to be.
But the chair can't be any of the school committee, town manager, police chiefs. It could be students.
I'm not sure.
So your question is...
I just want to make sure I'm understanding
There'll
who
be
can
a
chair
chair
this
and vice
committee.
chair elected by the majority vote, and neither will be an employee of the town. So it would not be the member who is town manager or designee and chief of police or designee.
But it could be a school committee member.
Could be a school committee member.
But we didn't give ourselves a select board member.
Town manager.
But that's not a select board member. Because it doesn't say town manager or school select board. It says school department or school committee. And then the chair then could be a school committee member, one of 2 students, or 4 at-large residents. But not the manager, no, select board's not there, and not the police chief. Okay.
Yep.
I'm sorry, we have no appointees.
Correct. No, we can appoint.
No,
we just don't have a seat.
4 appointees, 3 residents and 1 student. The school committee has 2 appointees, 1 resident and 1 student.
So the 4 residents we are appointing, but they're liaisons to the COA and the DAC, not
Correct.
they're not appointed by those.
Correct. Yeah.
Kind of like how we appoint people to the WCCP. Which, Patty, don't forget, we need to notice that open position now.
So, Michelle, the question is, do we want one of those 4 people to be, there's 2 things. Do we want one of those 4 people to be the chair?
Housing Planning Board.
Right, as opposed to the school committee member too, in which case you can just limit that to, who shall not be a member of the town or an employee of the town or a member of.
Well, I mean, it's just interesting. We are putting it on select board, and we are potentially not able to chair our own committee. We don't have a seat. It doesn't say town manager or select board. I mean, it is what it is, and it can go forward as it is. I'm just pointing out that
It's not typical to have select board or school committee members on these. I've never seen
I
that.
would think,
so why don't we just take the school committee off? Like, it should just be a member of the schools. I researched a bunch of these. I've never seen a school committee member on these.
and then the moderator doesn't appoint any, but it's a town meeting committee as well.
Depends on the town, but like in Arlington.
Yeah,
I think,
so
but yeah, it depends.
there were some of the questions that we had for Mary Ellen. One, she said it was fairly standard that in a committee, the chair or vice chair is not a staff member. So we included that in there. Sorry, you just asked another question, and we had talked about that with Mary Ellen, but I forgot what you were just talking about.
School committee can have their seat, but on the municipal side, it's only town manager. It's not town manager or select board.
Sorry, yeah, no, it was that a committee of town meeting. We talked about that too, and the idea was that it's sort of created as under town meeting despite not having specific moderator appointments is versus it just being us as a select board creating a committee that may not have space in the bylaw. So kind of the logic was that it's coming in as a committee of town meeting. It's not necessarily like a
capital planning
standalone.
committee,
Like,
capital planning committee doesn't have town moderator appointments, right?
I think that's the only one.
CCP, BCCP.
Okay.
Your question about the schools is fair, and I would not have a problem with us making that edit to remove or a member of the school committee. If other folks feel that way and want to make a motion on that.
I would move that we remove the or a member of the school committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
So we'll make that change.
So it's basically 4 at-large members, 2 student members.
Yes.
And then a member from the school's
Kind of
admin.
ex officio type members.
Three basically staffers, right?
Right.
Schools, superintendent, town manager, chief of police, or their designees. That seems right.
None of whom can chair.
None of them.
The ex officios. Okay. All right, that we went 4, we went 7, then Article 4. Thank you for answering those questions. Now we want to go where? 8?
8 seems.
8's water and sewer.
Right. I think we.
Not 15 is stabilization fund. Chris's motion is $2 million.
That was based on that was based on the lower number of the numbers you threw out.
I think we said 2 to 3. That was, of course, before the override went down. So I'd be fine with 2. If somebody wants to say 1, fine with that too. We have about 21 million of free cash. We have about 5.5, call it 5, between 5 and 5.5 of general stabilization.
Did you say you wanted to move it down to 1, or you want to leave it at 2?
1 to 2. I would say 1 to 2.
Do you want to move it to 1? I think we should move it to 1. We might need the free cash.
It's your motion.
I know. No, I mean, we were kind of 2 to 3 2 weeks ago. Now we're in a non-override scenario, and maybe we should go to 1.
Yeah,
I still think making the motion, and then when I went to FinCom on this a couple weeks ago, they said, well, is this article specifically dependent on the override? I said, no, we thought about bringing it in the fall. We were thinking it's just a good pattern to get into, start putting some money into that fund. So I think we still do something, we just maybe do 1 million.
I'm fine with 1. I would just say that whoever presents this, we should frame it as like the OPEB 350, a recurring move that we'll do.
Yeah, trying to get on a schedule to feed it. I agree. Somebody want to?
I'll move that we reduce the amount of general stabilization to 1 million per fiscal year, and everything else the same until the target reaches 5 to 7%.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And solar?
That change. We have the solar article, and Ken is here if there's questions. Hey, Ken.
Good evening.
So we have your memo on the solar articles. If you have
May
any-
hit some of the high points.
Yeah, if you have any updates for us, or if there are any questions from the board.
Yeah, so the big change, other than removing the PPA as an option, is that in design review with Select and the DPW, looking at the transfer station, we realized we could actually add a second very large array at the transfer station, which does increase the initial cost of the project, but it improves the net benefits to the town financially quite a bit. It turns out to be a very lucrative project compared to the other canopy projects, and it has to do with the way that we would meter out the extra generation. I won't go into the details of that, but the end result would be that Select is estimating the total cost to purchase all of these projects at all sites, all 5 sites. That's $7.562 million. And we would then have a net savings of a little bit above $4.8 million over 25 years. I did ask them what kind of contingency would make sense to capture foreseeable, unforeseen issues with construction, and they were pretty confident that a 5% construction contingency would cover pretty much anything they could think of happening, including much larger footings in situations where the soil conditions are not as firm as they would normally need to be for canopy footers and that type of thing. This by no means means that they would automatically charge us that extra 5% on the projects. They must strictly adhere to a set of criteria set up by Power Options, which is the nonprofit that we're a member of. But so I do recommend that the motion include that extra 5%, just to make sure we don't get stuck just a little bit short on projects that we really want to do. So that would raise it from $7,562,000 to $7,943,000. The projects are all still attractive financially, even if we did need to expend that extra 5%. But it's not anticipated that we would need the 5% across all projects. And also not included in these financials, the $4.8 million in benefits is the fact that this project is an allowed project type under the the Department of Energy Resources Climate Leader Grant project, the $1 million decarbonization accelerator grant that we would apply for these projects, and I think we'd be very likely to win. And so there would be an extra $1 million in benefits to these projects not captured in Select's estimates. The federal investment tax credit would be captured. That's 25.5%. Assuming this is bonded, that we would receive approximately a year after project completion. And why don't I maybe stop there, take questions. You've seen the slide deck. I have, as Chris mentioned, prepared a suggested motion and background material for the motion book. But yeah, why don't I
So
questions?
I know it's the language. So if we put the 5% in, so it's $7,943,000. Estimated net savings / revenue is 4.8 or 4.3 with the contingencies less. So it's, let's take 7.9, get $1 million from decarbonization. Now that's 6.9. Net savings are costs that are avoided, right? Revenue is revenue. Which is it? It's $4.8 to the bottom line that goes toward goes to revenue for a future year, or is it 4.8 million of avoided energy costs?
It's a mixture. So when I say
that's kind of important.
Yeah, I'm counting the investment tax credit cash payment to the town as revenue. So
7.9 now costs us effectively 6.9 million. It offsets the purchase price, right?
I'm sorry, I'm not following you.
If 7.9 million is the 5% additional, total cost is 7.9 million.
Yep.
We get $1 million grant, knocks it down. We reimburse ourselves $1 million.
You're talking about the Climate Leader grant. You're talking about the investment tax credit.
Sorry.
That's why you're.
Okay, Climate Leader grant knocks that down to 6.9. Okay, now let's talk about tax credits.
Yep. So then the tax credit, if you look in I assume you have access to the slide deck. If you turn to the individual purchase summaries.
There's page 5.
Page 5, yeah. So
it's 250.
The 250, right up at where it says grant, $255,000. I thought we also.
That's the ITC, Michelle.
Right. So up in the blue section at the top where it says grant, that's the investment tax credit. That's not the Climate Leader.
Federal.
Right.
So in each case, that's just going to be literally a check coming from the Treasury to the town.
What do the total ITCs add up to? That you're trying to build like a bridge. You're trying to go from 7.9 to 6.9 to the ITCs, to the revenue, to the avoided
Right.
costs.
Right.
Correct.
Yep.
Like, are we actually to the good on the revenue, or are we just to the good on the savings? Or is it both?
I mean, I don't have the breakdown, just,
And we may not, I mean, we can move forward with this. I just think for town meeting, that will be important to know.
I think we have to, so if you think about it, it's like we're going from 7.9 of spend to 4.4 of
oh,
total.
I'm sorry.
Right, go ahead.
It is here, if you, on the initial tables, page 2.
Where's the ITC?
To say
You
preliminary
can see
project summaries?
where it says direct pay, the column in the middle.
That is the ITC, right?
Direct pay is the mechanism by which the investment tax credit gets paid to the town.
Mm-hmm.
So
that'd get you down to like 4.9 if you had climate leaders in there too. 7.9 becomes 6.9, 6.9 becomes 4.9.
right.
Okay.
But I think the thing is, so you spend 7.9, you get 1 million back from the state, you get 2 million back from the federal government, so then you're down to 4.9. And then all of the delta from there, which is like another 9 million, right, which is the initial recoupment of the purchase price and all the net savings, that's about 9 million more, right, close to 10. You know what I'm saying?
When you take into account the revenue and the overage for the savings, paying off the debt, right? Yep.
And that comes from basically saved electricity and then selling electricity back to Eversource.
Right. There is a state revenue program that helps to subsidize it, but it stays within the bill. It's an on-bill credit.
So it reduces electricity spend.
Right.
I have two questions that may or may not help with some background. How
Yep.
long is the time frame between when we get the grant and we get these credits? Just because we could initially issue a ban and roll it and then only issue the long-term debt once all that's settled. But I don't know how long. We don't have a million years to be doing it.
I think you have time though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so this is a schedule of when we owe payments. There aren't obviously dates on here, but you start off, we would have to put 7% of the project cost down, which is about $500,000 to $60,000, right in the beginning of July, before, just for us to capture the start of construction trigger for the investment tax credit.
Right.
But after that, we actually have quite a bit of time. There are milestones that they hit. They do a little more work, we pay them a little bit more. They do a little bit more work, we pay them a little bit more. And that can actually stretch out over a couple of years.
Oh, a couple, okay, it's not like 10 years, it's just a couple.
No, it's,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
probably a 2 to 3 year horizon.
what's
If
the
I look at
funding
Lynch,
source?
it was within 2 to 3 years.
Is this general debt or is it capital stabilization?
General,
General, okay, I'm just curious.
on the operating side.
Thank you.
Yep. Don't go far, there might be more.
No, I'll stay, I have a question about another one.
But the thing is, like, so it's very important that people get, so we have 7.9 of spend, and then it looks like the way it's presented, we're saving 4.4, but we should be clear, we're saving the 7.9 back and on top of that 4.4,
Yes.
right?
That's why I would write it slightly differently.
We have to lay this out very clearly, and then to your point, Michelle, we should show not just the direct pay, which is the ITC, we should also show the climate leaders coming off this. If this board, by the way, agrees with that use.
The other place it could go is the town hall.
But we don't have a funding source for the remainder of town hall.
I actually think that we have a shot at getting a second $1 million if we are successful with this, because there's not a lot of people lining up for this money. Now, I'm not promising that as a reality, but we've already been accelerated for another program because people are dropping out of the queue in another area we've already funded for. So.
Given we don't have a funding, I mean, I would use it here personally, because town hall we're going to try to do, but there's no pathway to do it near term.
If we're going to do this, it makes sense to do it here, I think.
Because then you can bring down the upfront price from basically 8 to 5, right, between the state and the federal credits,
Right.
and then we're generating a lot of power, assuming all these projects survive, which I continue to believe not all of them will.
Yeah, I mean,
They won't all.
I agree.
hopefully the best ones with the best ROI will, though. If we lose one, let it be like the small one.
DPW maintenance shop.
I mean,
Yeah.
we can't control what we might find, but
Anyone else with questions on solar?
Nope.
Okay, and then we had,
you have a motion, though,
in the
right?
wrong document.
Yeah, so if I-
Before we let you
Okay.
leave, I just want to make sure Bill gets it or something. If,
Yep, this is, I do have, I have copies for anybody who wants any.
I mean, is it the motion just accept it, or, oh, it's the motion.
The motion itself, I think, well, first of all, the motion assumes that the entire 7.9 million is.
More, there's a lot if we need to.
Can you have more copies?
Yeah,
Sorry.
send some around. I'm just saying for tonight, we want to get it on the warrant probably, but you might want to.
Don't say
Maybe you
bond,
don't need
that's a
motion.
technical
I thought you
term.
needed it for like
we
tonight.
can, it's
really the motion.
borrowed.
No, it's a motion, so if there's any
That's fine,
questions
too.
beforehand.
It's on the warrant. They are concerned.
Right.
Well,
Right, so tonight it just needs to stay on the warrant.
And that's as far as it's
Yeah, I
gone
think
so
it's-
far.
it looks like.
Okay. So we're ready for next time.
Yep.
Look at it that way.
Okay.
I like that. That's good thinking.
Well, I mean, if we're not,
This looks good.
it would
It's
only
authorized
change
to
if
borrow.
we're
That's
killing
the
off the
standard.
site, right? If we said not VO, right? That was the only the top article would change. I thought we actually had to vote something
Feel free.
different, but we don't.
Okay.
Okay.
I
What's
think we're
next?
good.
All set?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Ken.
So, actually, let me see that for 1
Garage
second.
house, clean up.
When you get to literacy, I'll come back to you.
I think that's next. Don't go anywhere.
Before, that's fine. The last update was transfer.
And the transfer station.
Andy, where are
So
we?
we should make sure.
So our next
24?
motion is literacy. So it's the next page behind Ken's memo.
Well, 24 is clean up, 25 is carriage house, so we already talked about that?
No, because we're looking at,
Of course it is.
we're just looking at the motion, so let's talk about literacy, that we have a motion in front of us.
Okay.
So there is a memo that came from Dr. Hackett with the article language for the literacy, article, motion language, and background for the literacy article. It does not have the dollar value in it. And they did at their meeting last week vote to adopt arts and letters as their curriculum. So that has been determined. That's like right at the top of the second page, there's a blank
But
space.
they're going to give us a number, presumably, Thursday?
I don't have an update on when they're giving us a number.
Well, all I know is that I believe the intent was to use the balance of the literacy pilot that we voted and approved last year, and there's about $140,000 in there, so their motion as it's written doesn't have that in there.
Good.
So I'm trying to confirm with Andrew Marin, the finance director over there, what the balance is.
Less that, whatever number it is, it's going to be less that, right?
Yeah, well, no, we need to repurpose that because it's specific to the pilot, that vote. So it has to be included in the motion to use that to fund it.
This is a single motion, two motions?
No, you can just do one motion where a piece of it's
Of
funded
which
by free
this is
cash
funded
and
by
this is
this.
funded by the article that was voted. Yeah, we can
pilot's
fix that
over.
language.
Yeah.
We're just confirming what the balance of that is, because, I mean, I'd assume the pilot's done. They've picked a curriculum package. They have a couple of open POs that I'm trying to track down with Andrew. But I just want to mention that has to be in the article for it to be a funding source.
Has to be in the article or the motion?
Motion. sorry.
Motion.
Yes,
Motion.
thank you.
They're presenting this, right? We're just,
No, we should present it. Why wouldn't we? I mean, we're the ones who get it on the warrant. We could do it with them.
They voted to co-sponsor it.
we want to present on why we
Well, we
selected arts and
should-
letters
we
from
should-
Great minds.
They voted to co-sponsor it
Allocate a
with
fund.
us at their last meeting.
We could stand up. I mean, it was a state of the town commitment to carve it out. We could introduce it. Mike can introduce it, and then we could turn it over to school committee around what arts and letters means. I kept thinking that's like a bachelor's degree, but apparently it's a curriculum.
I'd rather just give it to school committee and have one less person speaking at town meeting. I mean, people will know we're behind it when we stand up and say we're behind it. or see us as co-sponsors in the book.
I mean, we can
this is-
certainly ask the moderator for a minute to voice our support of it
It's
after
a
we've
continuation of what
co-sponsored
we
it.
started with the pilot, too. I mean, there's a thread there from last spring to this spring. That was our board, a member of our board that did it. We don't have to, I guess we don't have to decide speaking notes tonight, but there is some consistency around how we get to a pilot, how we get the first round of money, what that told the school committee, and support for the next round of money, and taking out of the operating budget because it's a standalone one-time use, which we have a point of view about standalone one-time uses. I mean, we do have a point of view on how this is funded, and we do have a point of view on how it got here in the first place. But we don't have to decide tonight exactly.
That's why I put this on, because the schools had these, and I think we had signaled last year that we would be back with reverting what was left over from the pilot and recommending funding for the curriculum on an ongoing basis. So I think that's where it is. I don't think it's going to be a heavy lift for town meeting, to be honest with you. So it was.
I mean, we want it on the warrant. That's a given.
Yeah, it's there.
We do. We can figure out speaking rules, but we do have a stake in why it's there and why it's carved out separately from the operating budget and how it's a continuation of last year. So that's all. I guess that's TBD, but we do have a point of view.
And just to confirm, is this on the warrant as select board and school committee, or do we need to vote that it's a
probably on right now is
co-sponsor?
Michael.
I think it was Michael.
Okay,
Yeah,
so why don't we vote? Why don't we make a motion that this article on the warrant will be co-sponsored by the select board and the school committee?
Do you have to reopen the warrant for that, or is it?
It's not closed.
Oh, it's not
Not necessarily close it.
So I'll move to place on the warrant the
It's toward this open.
article presented by the school committee concerning the adoption of the literacy curriculum, or the funding of the literacy curriculum, and to have it listed as a co-sponsored article by both school committee and select board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll
Was
work
that-
on that
your
later.
work is done?
Yeah, that's
Sure.
Yeah, I just want. We'll clean up the motion language.
I feel like when you leave, we always call you back with
All
a
right, I'll just
question.
sit here.
No.
How many more articles do you have?
2, 3.
All right.
Yeah, almost done.
Money related.
Money related, I don't know that we have. So these were the motions that we have ahead of us. And then we'll vote the motion book on next Monday.
And next Monday, with the warrant.
Next Monday, we're voting the warrant.
Yeah, you're going to finalize the warrant.
Yeah, it has to go to the printer on the 6th.
Okay, so next Monday, we're finally voting the final warrant, and then after that, we'll vote the motion book. So Mike had a table, a hard copy.
Oh yeah, so this Perkins article, and obviously need to do some editing work here, but I think you get the general idea if you look at the motion.
See?
Do you want to provide us some background to?
Yeah.
The background?
I'm reading the background, but
Yeah, you don't have to read the background.
if anyone's watching, they're not reading the background.
Yeah, so I think as part of the rezoning of the Center Business District in 2015, we included a section of the zoning bylaw to require on-site affordable housing as part of the percentage of the project. So when we did, when the planning board was reviewing the Converse Place proposal, the most recent one, town council, identified that there was a lack of clarity in the inclusionary zoning bylaw section where it said you have to have a percentage of on-site units, or if it's determined to be economically feasible, a payment in lieu of units. So what I think everybody wanted to do at that point was to have a combination of on-site units and payment in lieu of units. I think the planning board and the developer wanted to do that as well, and certainly a lot of our stakeholders did. But because it wasn't clarified in the zoning bylaw that way, we could only do one or the other, either have on-site units or payment in lieu of units. And so there's potentially multiple projects coming into town center now. So I talked to Taylor, and I know that the planning board is going to be doing kind of an overhaul of the bylaw. And but they're probably a year away from that, so they're going to be looking at everything. So this is kind of a stopgap measure because you can't retroactively, obviously, apply any sort of clarifications or anything into a bylaw once an applicant has started the process. So between now and whenever the planning board wants to revise the zoning bylaw, maybe it comes in the fall. I was just hoping we could get just a little something in there. And I could speak to town council. It could even be just a footnote.
So,
yeah.
I mean, this is, the planning board kind of like, just any review, we should make sure we understand their view on this one,
Yes.
I think. But it also, if after review, it's determined not feasible, because I understand that is kind of the fact pattern that yielded the decision. I'd be interested to see if the planning board thinks it's sort of like Brian's article in the fall of like rounding up, rounding down, right? When we get to like 9, if it's 6, if it's 4, if it's more than 9 units, we did a whole rounding and fractions exercise to kind of normalize and actually align it with North Main Street.
Yes, because we got burned on that in the past as well.
So if it's kind of in that spirit of clarify so that we don't round up and we don't round down, because we did go back to town meeting with that, and it allows for a both and, because the after legal review was determined it did not allow a combination. And we believe a combination is fine so long as it's in our bylaw. Town council would, I guess town council should opine.
Yes.
But if it's in our bylaw and we think there's precedent in other towns, I suppose, of both, it's a both and, not an either or. That's what you're trying to do.
But we're doing this without the planning board?
Could they get an answer by next Monday when we finalize?
Talk to them about it. I think, when I ran it by, Taylor, he just said that they wanted to take more time to review the entire zoning bylaw. They were putting in a grant request to, have somebody do that for them. And so, but I talked to him about it. I sent it to him. So, it's, as I said, this is something that between now and when they revise everything would just be a stopgap measure, just to provide that clarity there, because between now and then we are exposed in a way of getting our policy objective reached, and it's there's only so many of these projects that come around for us to get on-site housing.
Well, we know there's one coming around on Church Street.
Yep.
Is that in the
next-
CBD overlay?
I don't know, but
You're
what
talking
zoning
about
would
the
be?
Christian Science Church?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's outside of the CBD overlay.
But is it? Yeah, it could be, but do we even have that requirement there too? Right?
Yeah, I'm not trying to solve all problems.
I know.
I'm just trying to very narrowly, as I said, even if, I'll talk to them as well and talk to Karis, even if it is a footnote, on the end that just describes that, I think, town council opined that if it is, when you're looking at a zoning bylaw, if it's not there and it's not clear, you can't infer it. And so that was the kind of bright line there.
Well, there's also one at the florist too, but it's going to be CBD.
Is the warrant closed to everyone but us right now?
Correct. It is our warrant.
I'm increasingly of the view that we should reopen it for this purpose for the planning board and the school committee for the article we just supported. That is presently my view, because I think we're talking about amending the language of the SPGA for the Center Business District overlay and sponsoring a literacy article which has a detailed background on a pilot program of arts and letters versus ELL that none of us are remotely expert in, because it seems like these two boards didn't bring these forward. And so I'm going to be up to the
So we can't reopen it for other people. Our charter dictates it closes for everybody. It's only open for what we can put on at this point. It can't. We added our co-sponsor for the school committee article.
The article on is because they missed the deadline, and so obviously it's something that we
I appreciate that. I'm just these are such squarely prerogatives of other boards. I'm sort of surprised we're bringing both of them. I hear you that there was a deadline miss on school committee. I am going to be strongly of the view that they should just stand up and present their article. And on this one, so you've talked to the town planner, but we don't know where the planning board itself is.
No, just it's fresh.
Yeah,
Which distinguishes it from the school committee article, because they took action and gave us a memo and requested us to do what we just did.
Correct.
I think we're doing a favor for the school committee, but I mean, personally, making no comment on the merits of what's being suggested by this revision to the SBGA bylaw, I would just rather it come from the planning board, and at least I wish I could. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I did ask them initially when these issues were coming up, and I suggested something small like this, and I think that they had suggested that they were going to be the same thing, looking at this over a period of time, and they are too busy right now to do it. From my perspective, I think it's too big of a risk for us to leave this small clarification exposed, certainly, even when I brought the literacy article last year, that was without the school committee, and they eventually, came along to support it. So, same thing with the accessory dwelling unit bylaw for the planning board. I put that on, and eventually the planning board came around. So, town meeting supported all those things. So, I think that I certainly will be discussing the amendment with them, but I mean it's a pretty small amendment, and certainly would be.
I agree with that.
It would be, they could get rid of it whenever they wanted to and replace it, right? So, I did hear of, in addition to the project that you mentioned, potentially 2 other projects coming along in the town center as well.
Yeah, well, this is the florist building sold right here, across from Lucia's.
Yeah,
and Fells.
And so, I mean, once those applications go in, then the door closes on us being able to get, affordable units there. And what ends up happening is we're really, at the behest of the pro forma from the developer, right? They kind of control what the money looks like, so it's much easier for them to give us a pro forma where it is determined to not be economically feasible to have affordable housing, and then determine what the payment in lieu is. So, and I think the developer on Congress Place, they were frustrated that they couldn't do a combination of on-site units and payment in lieu as well. So I think everybody was frustrated with the constraint of the writing of the bylaw. And what, I disagree with it's, town council's interpretation of it.
So, I mean, I'll say my opinion on this would be, it sounds like you asked the planning board, and the planning board said they didn't want to do it right now. They'll get to it in the future. It's, clear language. It hasn't been reviewed by council for, the motion hasn't been reviewed by council. I'm a little wary of it.
Yeah.
So it's certainly something we can. Can you chase down an answer by next Monday from council, or can council review this by Monday? Because we're going to.
I don't think so.
What else do we have Karis doing this week? I don't know.
And
we got Chris finding lots of revenue and
motion, right? I mean,
other things.
In the article.
Well, for the article. Yeah.
The planning board is not meeting until the 7th.
Yeah.
So the planning board wouldn't be able to, give us their take on this before we vote on the warrant.
We can always put it on, Mike can always put it on, and then we can decide as a board whether or not to get behind it in terms of our recommendation.
Yep.
Fair.
And yes, and I guess, Mike, for the article itself, it sort of says allowing a combination is the article. The motion would not be due until after the warrant's published on the 6th, or goes to the printer on the 6th. And if the planning board's not meeting against the 7th, there could be an opinion. But I think even just the motion background, to have town council look at that, so that if it goes on the warrant on the 4th, right, and the planning board has it, and town council has read it, and it passes muster, and to Paris's point, it can go on, we can choose to support it, planning board can choose to support it, but I think town council reviewing it before planning board sees it would be useful. So they can see all of it, and if there's some more updates to be made.
The warrant goes to the printer on the 6th.
Yes.
On the 7th.
Yeah, this was just choose.
Or when does the,
I
we're
think it's
voting
the
the warrant on the 6th.
No, we're voting it on the 4th, because I think it goes to the printer on the 6th, right? Monday's the
No,
4th.
the 6th is
Oh,
the
sorry, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong month.
Okay, so we're voting it on Monday, and then it goes.
Voting
Goes
it
on
Monday,
Tuesday, I
and then it
believe.
goes to the printer.
Yes, sorry, I had my wrong month, Monday, in my head.
All right.
That's correct.
All right, I have gone back and forth on bringing this one. I'll just tell the board I'm going to do it now, and you guys can see it next week. It'll be a sentence long.
Wait.
I am what?
Oh, you're doing something too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I decided not to, but I think I will. So the EFPBC's authorizing language does not allow the school committee to change its member at will. And that is a problem because right now the EFPBC does not have a school committee member on it, and it is therefore ineligible to be a planning body under MSBA regulations. So it's just going to be a technical tweak. They'd still have the same 13 or so members. That seat is one that they can put their own member in as needed, because right now they have no member on it, and MSBA requires them to have a member on it.
So are you changing language that the seat has to be filled by a current member of the school committee or somebody who serves at the pleasure of the school committee?
The latter.
Okay.
Which one? The latter?
The pleasure of the school committee.
Because then they can put somebody on there who's not on the school committee when they're not when they're in the EFPBC has two jobs. One is master plan.
I understand.
One is the people watching. I hope no one's watching that at 10:50. And one is being the owner of a project, right? And so when they are in the former, they can have a designee on it, but when they're in the latter, they need to be able to put their own.
Yeah, so I just wonder if, given that we're in MSBA mode, if we shouldn't make it potentially a sitting member for now. I don't know.
Well, I think they're going to have to put their own member on it. So
I mean,
we
to
have
make it a
give them that.
compliant committee.
I agree. They have to. They have to put their own member on one way or another.
Yeah.
But for them to have to pursue a moderator appointment is strange.
Okay. So you'll have that Monday.
Yeah, it's a sentence long. I have all the background.
But I know that's April 6th, so I can talk about it as the right day.
I was like,
I have the
wow,
background
we're all
from
putting
Maryland.
things on.
I'm supportive. I feel like I've crawled through that bylaw more times than I want to admit.
And amended 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, see, now there is an opening, Michelle, for the
Is that another one for
WCCP
Karis,
bylaw.
I'll get you links.
I'm going to do that in the fall.
It'll literally,
Yeah.
you take the 2000 version.
No.
of the
Yeah.
motion,
There's a
and you
one,
just
there's like a
write in parentheses, serves at the pleasure.
striking 2 words from it. Chris,
Yes.
on your radar, that will go to Karis.
WCCP?
Paris.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you tonight. probably.
From Paris to Karis.
Paris to Karis. Okay. So Mike, while you were out,
Yes,
Paris
sorry.
was saying he's going to bring something on Monday about EFPBC school committee appointment being specifically a school committee member or at their pleasure.
Because right now they don't have a member,
Did I
and
get that
therefore
right?
they're not compliant.
Serves
with
at their
the
pleasure.
It's that hard, don't they?
Yeah.
Serves at their pleasure.
Walked out the room, so why not?
So this is coming from the EFPDC?
No, it's
No,
coming
it's
from
coming
me.
from Paris. No. Okay.
He's going after the citizen petitions on the warrant.
They'll probably go before so we can get to May 4th, right?
I mean,
I
they
don't
can be
know.
numbered at any
They
time.
could.
Yes, they could be
for
presented before,
administrative
sorry.
sense, with
Just stick them at the
Jen
end.
already starting the motion booklet with
Yeah.
the warrants the way that it is, but just think she
Can they
needs to know
go
where they're going.
Can they go before the citizens
Yeah.
petitions and then just bump those ones at the end?
Correct.
Yeah, as long as
That easy?
Jen knows they're coming, yeah.
It doesn't
Is
matter.
Jen watching?
Correct.
No, I mean, stuff does take a little bit of time to get
Yeah.
the warrant put
I thought
together.
that the idea was to group them, and then however they're taken
Taken,
up, right as
yeah.
these. Yeah.
Okay,
Whatever night they're heard. Yeah. Okay.
all right. Anything else on town meeting motions, warrant,
Nope.
last call for any, all right. Michelle, do you want to give the Washington Swan update? And then
And we'll be
We're
done.
just about done.
So we have.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Stacy. So we had a meeting last week, Anthony and I did, with ZBA Chair and Town Council to really understand where the ZBA, the Washington Swanton Street
hard copy
project is. So we have a memo at the table. We were asking about the timeline. How did we get here? How many days did it take to get here? When will we expect to close? So Town Council has been at, I think, since December anyway, all of the ZBA hearings on this particular project. And in her opinion, normally they would take, 180 days or more. She was actually saying 300 days. 280 to 300 days is more common. What we have in front of us is the ZBA voted to issue the comprehensive permit at their meeting on last week. And then there will be on March 26th, it's on the second page, they closed the public hearing and voted to approve a comprehensive permit. That will come back in front of the ZBA for a sign-off on April 16th. Then there's a 20-day appeal period that opens up. If after the 20-day period no appeals are filed, the applicant then has to go to Mass Housing Partnership to get financing. So our timeline on closure, whether it would we actually be able to close in June, given a 20-day appeal period gets you to basically the end of April. We don't know if it can get to the end of June. I think we, the developer, town manager, whatever levers we have, we should probably work with Mass Housing Partnership and try to expedite that closure, since the applicant cannot close without final financing in place. So we cannot transfer title, we cannot wrap up our bands, we cannot do any of that until that financing is in place, and we don't have control over that. But we should try to push on it. And some of the sort of window between the first hearing in May of 2025 to us signing an updated 22nd Amendment in October were changes in the project design made by the developer that came back to us. We updated the amendment. There was a change of 60 to 64 units. Mezzanine was removed. Commercial space was shifted. So some of that time, June, July, and August, it appears, were some changes to the actual plans themselves, which then came back to us. But then since September, things have been moving. And then the other piece of it, Anthea, that just occurs to me is peer review is another piece. From September through January, the developer has to pay for peer review. We had engineering, we had stormwater, and there was a third one. And that every peer review that was done, they had a chance to then provide commentary. I guess our engineering department gave feedback on peer review, stormwater as well. So some changes and tweaks to plans between the September to January window, which got us to where we are currently in March with a permit being issued. They're writing it up right now. But some of the delays that we experienced were both change of scope, change of design, and a 4-month peer review process for which everything had to be contract. Meg White retired in August. Anthony came in, had to pick up some of the slack on those contracts. They're all done. Peer review was all done. All the findings are done. They've all been accommodated in the design. But we did have some staff transitions over the summer, as well as changes to the actual project itself.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the highlights I remember.
Yeah. Only other thing to add is kind of hindsight is 2020. We talked with the chair about, given that in this situation, this is land that the town owns, that setting up a better sort of communication process between us, ZBA, council, would have been beneficial in kind of getting some of this information to us earlier, and thinking of a way that we can move forward with that too, whether it's we sort of set a liaison to the ZBA when we have a project like this, or when we have Waterfield, I think planning board's permit granting, so have a liaison with that project, but just to make sure that we're getting the full scope of what's going on as well, so that we don't get to a point where we say this project's been going on for a long time and here we are signing bans and we're unclear on what's happening, but to have better insight into the project.
We purchase, I mean, I appreciate we can zoom in on any part of the timeline and explain the literal steps of what was occurring, as Michelle just did. And I thank you, Michelle and Anthea, for gathering these facts. And, you know, Karis has written here in the memo, she's worked on many projects that have taken 2 to 3 years. I would suggest those are more likely than not hostile 40Bs that are proposed by developers on private land. Those are not, you know, instances in which town meeting, at Springtown meeting 2021, so 5 years ago, chose to buy this land. We issued an RFP. Melanson replied, only one reply, August of 2022. So by the time this is issued, it'll have been nearly 4 years from that point to the comp permit.